This is Matt Hurt at Obsessive Viewer on Twitter, and this is ObsessiveViewer.com's The Obsessive Viewer Podcast. Hello and welcome to The Obsessive Viewer. We're a movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be it genre, trope, movie, or show, each episode. You can find more of our work at ObsessiveViewer.com, more of our podcasts at ObsessiveViewer.com/podcasts, and you can also like us on Facebook and join the Facebook group at Facebook.com/TheObsessiveViewer. So this episode is a special episode. It's part 2 of our Heartland International Film Festival coverage that we're doing for this year. The Heartland Film Festival is a film festival that is in its 28th year here in Indianapolis. They have a very great selection of films this year, as they always do. And I've been fortunate enough to be covering it throughout the last 10 or so days, and it's been so much fun, as it always is. It's such a blast to check out these independent films and chat with the filmmakers and everything, which on that note, this is, like I said, it's part 2 of our coverage on the podcast. Part 1 came up a couple days ago on the feed, and in it I interview a bunch of filmmakers and special guests of the festival on the red carpet, including Brendan Fraser, who was there for a special 20th anniversary screening of The Mummy. This episode is similar to that, sort of. This is a compilation of interviews that were conducted at the Heartland Film Festival press junket at Castleton in their Francis Ford Coppola Winery Lounge. This year it's a very nice space to kind of relax and get a drink and kind of hang out and chat with filmmakers and other people at the festival. Like, I actually ran into a woman that I worked with 6 years ago, and like, she didn't recognize me, but I chatted with her for a while. It was really cool. So anyway, so this press junket was really great. It was I was there for about 4.5 hours, and talked to filmmakers from 9 different films, and I'm very proud of the content that we got, and the conversations I had were really fantastic, and I'm so thankful for Heartland for putting it all together, because I just had a chance to chat with these filmmakers about their passion and their films and everything, and it was just such a great experience, as it always is. This is our 4th year covering it in the last 5 years. And it's never a dull moment. It's really fun and exciting, and I'm really happy with the content that we have pieced together here for this episode of the podcast. So I'm not going to spend too much time with preamble, but I just want to say that this episode is a compilation of those interviews. I've got about 2.5 hours worth of audio from that press junket, covering 9 different films, several different filmmakers associated with the films. I will put links in the show notes to all of their home pages and Facebook pages and everything for each film. Just check the show notes at ObsessiveViewer.com/OV298. And, I originally wanted to get this posted earlier in the day, because there's still a couple days left of Heartland, or about a day and a half left of Heartland. Tomorrow is the closing night, screening of their closing night film, which is Just Mercy, with Michael B. Jordan and Brie Larson and a bunch of other people. I'm really excited about that. That's going to be at Newfields tomorrow night, with an after party afterward as well. I don't know if there's still tickets available, but go ahead and give it a shot and try it. Because it's such a blast, and Newfields is such a great venue for the opening, closing night films and everything. So let's see. Oh, before I get into the actual reviews and stuff, or the interviews, so I wanted to get this posted earlier this morning. I'm recording this Saturday afternoon. I wanted to get it posted earlier this morning, but I actually got a phone call early this morning from Kirsten, one of our recurring co-hosts, that her cat was missing because she just moved into a new apartment. So I raced over there and we looked for the cat and everything. We'll talk about that next time she's on the podcast, but just suffice it to say, the cat is safe and home and safe and everything. So if you're listening listening to this and you shared it around Facebook and social media when I posted it, thank you so much. That was a very hectic day. So, but what I'm getting at is I was going to post this earlier this morning so that I could prompt the different screenings that were happening today and tomorrow for the films that are discussed in these interviews. However, since it's probably not going to go up until early evening, I'm just going to run down the one screening that's available of these films tomorrow. So tomorrow, Moonlight Sonata is going to be playing at Newfields at 12:15 tomorrow. So if you want to check that out, check it out tomorrow. But also, before I get into the actual interviews, today was the awards brunch for Heartland. And what they did this year that's a little different from previous years is that they combined the awards night celebration with the filmmakers brunch that they have each year. So that was together. I didn't go to the brunch because I was helping save a cat, but I did not help save the cat. But we'll get into that next time Kirsten's on. So anyway, but they did announce the winners for this year's Heartland Film Festival, and I'm going to run those down. I'm very excited about the winners, because there are some that you'll hear interviews with the filmmakers here, and just really excited. And a lot of the movies that won are ones that I've seen, and cannot be more happy for the filmmakers, because it's very well deserved. So, the winners for the 28th Heartland International Film Festival, for Best International Feature Film Oscar contender was Pain and Glory, which I didn't get a chance to see, but I've heard great things about. The Indiana Spotlight Audience Choice Award was We Shall Not Die Now, which is phenomenal. You'll hear my interview with the filmmaker, and we had a really great conversation at the press junket, which you'll hear. The HIFF2019, it's like a foreign press. I can't remember exactly what it stands for. Last year was their first introduction of the award. But anyway, looked it up, heartlandfilm.org. So the HIFF2019, best directorial debut for a USA narrative was Standing Up, Falling Down, which you will hear my interview with Matt Ratner, the director of that film, here in this episode in the press junket. Super happy for this one. I got a chance to see it last night, and it is phenomenal. It's really great, really amazing performances from Ben Schwartz and Billy Crystal, and also Nate Cordry from Studio 60 is in it. Like, it's a really incredible film. It's a comedy drama about, you'll hear about it in the interview. So, super happy for Matt and the people that put together, are involved with Standing Up, Falling Down. The winner of the Jimmy Stewart Legacy Award was Fire on the Hill. And the winner for the Richard D. Probst Social Impact Documentary Feature Award was For Sama, which I'm seeing tomorrow. Can't wait. I've heard incredible things about that documentary. Check out a friend of mine, I think Evan reviewed it on MidwestFilmJournal.com. And yeah, he did. And when I read that review, I was like, yep, I have got to see this. So I'm excited to see that tomorrow. And the Richard D. Probst Social Impact Narrative Feature Award was The Garden Left Behind, which I've also heard really great things about. And Richard Probst, he's great. He's a member of the Indiana Film Journalists Association that I'm a part of, and he's a riot. So really happy with those selections, and I'm really excited to see. Well, I'm really excited to see the films. But the best premiere narrative feature for Heartland Film Festival was System Crasher, which I haven't gotten a chance to see. And the best premiere documentary feature was Barefoot, the Mark Ballmer story. Really happy with this. I haven't got a chance to see the film yet, but I did interview the filmmakers and the parents of the subject on the red carpet in the previous episode of the podcast, and it sounds like such an important documentary and such a great documentary as well. So congrats to them. The Humor and Humanity Award went to the aforementioned Standing Up, Falling Down. So congrats to them. Really, really enjoyed that movie. Really great. And then to round out the big awards this year at Heartland Film Festival, the narrative feature grand prize winner is House of Hummingbird, which I got a chance to see last weekend. Very interesting kind of coming of age drama. Set in Korea. It's a powerful film. I'm really happy with that selection. And then The documentary feature grand prize winner was For Sama, which, again, I'm really excited to see that tomorrow. And then finally, the Indiana Spotlight Grand Prize winner at Heartland Film Festival this year was The Miseducation of Bindu, which I've heard rave reviews about it. So very excited to see that when I can. I've heard really great things about it. So congratulations to all the winners and the finalists at this year's Heartland Film Festival. Like you will hear several times in these interviews, I've been covering Heartland Film Festival for 4 out of the last 5 years. And this year, like they curate a great selection of films, each year. There's always really great, films playing at Heartland, but this year it's like they outdid themselves. Like every movie I've seen has been really strong. And it's just really, a little overwhelming, but it's really great. So congrats to Heartland and everything. There's more episodes that are to come. We're planning out, hopefully 2 more episodes to round out our coverage here. Those will come up next week, on the feed. Hopefully, probably late next week. So anyway, really excited about this year's Heartland. And, and also, as I said, I'm a member of the Indiana Film Journalists Association. We're actually going to be, awarding a film for best special presentation at Heartland Film Festival. That's going to be announced after the award. I think in December is when we're going to figure it out. But really excited for that. I've seen some really great special presentation features here at Heartland, which will be the content of the 4th and final episode of this series of episodes about Heartland. So this is episode 2. Let's go into the press junket interviews. These interviews were conducted yesterday at Castleton at the Francis Ford Coppola Lounge. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce these. I'm just going to play these clean. I'll put the links in the show notes to it. And also, if you want to if you want to jump to certain, interviews, check the show notes for, timestamps as well. Again, those show notes are at obsessiveviewer.com/OV298. And finally, if you guys like my coverage or like this episode, please share it around, because not only because I'm proud of the content, obviously, but also because these filmmakers are so passionate, and that's the embodiment of independent filmmaking, is just getting the word out about these projects. These are just independently done productions, and they are just, you just feel the blood, sweat, and tears that go into it. So please share this around, and maybe, shout out to, Heartland and say, hey, I really liked Matt's coverage. So, and follow Heartland at Heartland Film on social media and everything. So, without further ado, here are my interviews with several filmmakers from the Heartland International Film Festival 2019, conducted October, when was yesterday? October 18th, at the press junket. So enjoy. All right. So I'm here with Viv and Kirsty, the directors of House of Champions, which has its U.S. premiere here at Heartland 2019. I almost said 2015. I don't know where my head's at. Here at 2019. Why don't you guys tell me about the film and about your experience with Heartland so far?
So House of Champions is about 3 adult Special Olympic athletes who live in a supported community in New Zealand, small town New Zealand. Yeah, and so the spine of the film is them training and preparing for the Special Olympics, and everything else that happens along the way, which is life and love and politics and eating badly and not training,
drinking,
too much champagne, and generally it's a look at some lives that a lot of people don't know about.
Okay.
Yeah, so our leads, Celeste, Carla, and Jonathan. Celeste and Carla are both Down syndrome women in their mid 30s and 40s. And Jonathan is undiagnosed, but people seem to think that he has Williams syndrome, which is often known as the happy gene.
Oh, okay.
So there's a lot of hugging.
Or the huggy gene.
And the huggy gene, yeah.
And he's New Zealand's champion speed walker.
Oh, wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So what attracted you guys to this project, and how did it come about?
Well, we moved. We were actually living in New York, and then we moved back home and just wanted to go to a small town. Mm-hmm. So I went to the town where I grew up and discovered that there was this trust there that was set up 20-odd years ago. And
purely for people with different disabilities.
Yeah. So they got us in to make a 20th anniversary film. Mm-hmm. So we got to know everybody. And so from there we ended up making another funded short film and then a funded web series and then this one. So we've kind of spent a lot of time filming these guys. So we're a big part of their lives and their families' lives, and
So this is our first feature doc. So we've done the steps. We've gone from
3-minute
short, web series, feature doc.
Wow, that is really exciting.
And
how do you feel about having your first feature doc? And I know it's having its US premiere.
Yeah, it's great. It's great because we always knew that we wanted to really, when you make short films, you just touch on a little aspect, 5 minutes, you can't put a lot in it, but you still get the essence of the person.
Oh, yeah.
And to make a feature doc means that you just with these guys, you have an idea of what is going to happen. We knew we'd use the Special Olympics because that's
it's a great story thread.
Yeah.
But it's really about the fact that these guys have the same hopes and dreams. Like Celeste wants to get married, and it's never going to happen.
Jonathan wants a job, but he also has, due to his vision impairment, he started watching things on TV that he could really listen to and understand. And we broadcast our Parliament on TV, so Jonathan started listening to Parliament, and in the film we take him to meet a politician who's doing the rounds of all the towns and speaking his rhetoric. And he disses Jonathan, which is quite, not that great for him.
Sure.
But Jonathan gets to answer a question about what their policy is on adults with intellectual disability getting employment, and he doesn't really quite he answered Jonathan's question, and Jonathan's a little bit peeved by this.
Sure.
And so Jonathan writes to the Prime Minister, who of course is our amazing Jacinda Ardern, and he writes this letter to say what happened, and so what
Give away the ending.
well, it's radio. Should I give away the ending from radio?
If you want to dance around it, because I definitely want to see it.
Yeah. So he writes to the Prime Minister.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is great because we all have the right to write to.
Yeah, but also because he watches Parliament TV, he knows her.
Yeah.
As far as he's concerned, he knows all these people.
Right.
Because he watches it all the time. But
and then Celeste, she's our diva.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. and she really wants to get married. She has a boyfriend and they want to marry, and she's very much caught up in that classic kind of world of a wedding, Well, the wedding is the thing, isn't it? Whereas a marriage is
quite different to a wedding.
Yes.
Yeah, and Carla is the sort of homemaker, and she was born in Holland and has travelled the world, and even though she doesn't read or write, she can speak 3 languages, probably.
Wow.
Yeah.
She's also Down syndrome.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. And it's a great community because, we know that there's assisted living. Mm-hmm. Where a group of people will live in a house with support workers, but the great thing about where these guys live is that it's 2 streets with all these beautiful old miners' cottages that the Trust own. And most of the houses in those streets are people from the Trust. So they can just... And there's a cafe, which is the hub. And they can just walk out their doors and they'll be somewhere where they've got friends. And really that's, friends. And that's a big issue for a lot of people with disability.
And also being in a small town, they can just walk everywhere and the community are pretty supportive. I haven't heard any bad stories. Well, not recently anyway, but... so they are very well supported by the community.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And something I'm always eager to learn from documentarians is how did you find the narrative of the film within the footage and everything? Were there any surprises?
Well, you can't use everything, which is a shame, because no one would come to see it.
Yeah.
But that's the great thing about having the games kind of drive it, because we needed, rather than it just being a story that never really went anywhere, but would have been pretty interesting, but we needed to have a thread and a beginning with a middle and an end, so there was that. So off that came these themes, really, between discussions with them and their personal trainer.
And she's a big part.
She's a big, Fiona. She's great.
She's the Aussie Australian woman, and she's kind of loud and funny herself, isn't she? In the way she's a great trainer for these guys. She knows them really well. And she pushes them. She takes no prisoners as far as the training goes. And she listens to them when they come out with outrageous comments about life. She goes, okay, now we'll just focus on the games, and there's all these crazy big ideas going on. Fiona brings it back in, and she truly loves them, and.
Yeah, but as far as your question goes, it was you can't. When you're shooting, you don't really know what this. I mean, that's what was, like I say, the games was great, but apart from that, it was. You don't really know how it all fits till you cut the scenes and then drop them all on the timeline. And see what fits, really. Because it doesn't all fit, sadly. We've got some great scenes that we're going to cut together for Facebook.
A Christmas scene coming up for our web, that we'll add to our web series. So,
awesome.
Yeah. So it's just the two of us. We're the shooting crew.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Kirsty.
I shoot, Viv does sound.
Yeah.
Great. That's awesome. And you guys have obviously worked together.
Yeah. Probably on and off for about 30 years.
Oh, wow. That is.
Well, we've both been worked in the New Zealand film business for years.
Oh, nice.
And we were set decorators. And then I've moved into doing on-set stills for the last probably 20 years, I'd say. Yeah. Yeah. And Viv.
So we learned. We never went to school to learn how to do it. We just learned by being involved in the industry.
Just like the best way, just like hands-on, just like in the thick of it, and just learning by experience.
Yeah, we've done a few workshops on kind of how to craft stories and editing workshops, and because that's where films are made, in the edit suite, right? I mean. You can gather all the raw material in the world, but if you can't make a story out of it, you're fucked, right? So,
Wow. So it's having its US premiere here at Heartland. Did it already have it?
Yeah, on Tuesday.
How did that go?
Good. We had a good Q&A.
Because it's about the Special Olympics. I contacted Special Olympics Indianapolis, and we had some comps, and this woman Betty and her 9 adopted children came along, who were all Special Olympians.
Oh wow! That is incredible.
Yeah, and they loved it, didn't they? They really loved it. And when we got back to our hotel last night, there was a package, and it was each of the 9 children pretty much had written to each of our 3 characters.
Oh, wow.
And then someone had done these beautiful crochet hearts. So it was just, it was beautiful. Yeah.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, and that's, it's just for people with disability to see themselves up on the screen being normal.
Yeah, and there's really nothing sentimental about our film. It's like this is just who they are. It's not, there's no violins in the soundtrack.
Sure.
I know you kind of get a bit tired of that.
Push in on the tough stuff.
I did. I think.
Did you push in?
I think I did. Yeah.
Well, that's great. That's incredible.
And the music's great. It's written by one of our New Zealand top kind of pop stars at the moment. He was pretty into the project, so we'd used some of his kind of famous anthems, and then he wrote all the incidental music for us.
Lawrence Arabia.
Lawrence Arabia, his name is.
Check out his music. He's great.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah.
So is there any social media presence for House of Champions? Or
it's on
website
Facebook.
Perfect.
Yeah,
it's on Facebook and Instagram. House of Champions doc, I think it is, or film, one or the other. Yeah.
Well, I'll make sure to dig up the link and put it in the show notes of the episode.
Thank you.
So what's your next stop after Heartland?
Festival-wise?
Yeah.
We're not sure yet.
Okay.
Yeah, we're trying to find out what to do. It's screened on New Zealand television.
Oh, nice.
And I don't know, we're not sure what kind of life it's going to have. We'll have to wait and see.
It's been good coming to the festival because you meet people.
Oh, yeah.
And you talk about distributors and how you should go about getting your film out there and making contacts.
Because otherwise you just don't know, do you? We don't know. So, okay, because we kind of made it with the assistance of a New Zealand broadcaster. Mm-hmm. So they get the first rights to it, and then it's like, but you really want more than one showing.
Sure.
You spend a year making this thing that, 1 hour on national TV is not really enough. So now we kind of need to work out how best to achieve that. So that's why we've come to this festival.
Very cool. Well, Viv and Kirsty, thank you so much for chatting with me, and congratulations on the film.
Thank you.
And I hope you have a great rest of the festival. Are you guys sticking around?
Yeah, we've got one more screening tomorrow, and then off to Chicago on Sunday for a week.
Nice.
Should be good. Then home.
Very cool.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks,
you,
Matt.
have a great one.
Do you have a card?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Coming to one of the showings?
Glad to hear it.
I might try to, because I was able to watch it early because of the film festival.
Oh, you get the screeners, yeah.
Watched it, and I threw up a review and everything, and then
Right on.
I might check out the screening of it.
Awesome.
I want to see it with the crowd. Like, it's the type of
That's the fun of it, yeah. It's...
That's what I was most nervous about.
Oh, yeah? I don't know if you will. Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. No, I want to...
Real quick?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm here with Nate and Daniel, the director.
Hello.
Star, and did you co-write it as well?
Yes, yeah, I was right.
Of Man Camp, which is a fantastic comedy that's playing at Heartland Film Festival this year. And why don't you guys tell me a little bit about the film? Pretend that I don't know about it already, and let people know what it's about.
Dan here has been fine-tuning this elevator pitch.
Sure, yeah. Oh, yes. It's a little rusty because we haven't had to pitch it for a while. But no, Man Camp is the story of three brothers. They go on this annual tradition to remember their dad who passed away years ago, and they call it Man Camp. The only difference is this year they walk in and they find their mom messing around with this guy that they are not aware of, and they have a bit of a reaction, and then it's, you know what, Mom? No. Why don't she just leave him up here with us, and we'll get to know him, and everything will be great. And they send her on her way, and let the games begin. Yep, they basically try to run him out of the family through all means of violence, shenanigans, emotional abuse. Yeah.
That's great. Like I said, I really enjoyed it. It's such a cleverly done like the quips and one-liners are amazing. I like there are bits from it that like I was laughing about like days after I watched it. Particularly particularly, not to spoil it, but just the use of the word family zone.
I'm so glad that you got that joke. Yeah. I was on a chairlift at a ski resort, and I was riding up. This was before we shot the film, and I saw that there were, they have areas where you can't ski so fast, and it just said family zone, and it hit me immediately. And I got my phone out on the chairlift, and I called my writing partner Scott, who plays Tim in the movie, and I was like, dude, family zone. I was like, she put me in the family zone. And he was like, I don't know, man. I was like, yes, it's in.
Oh, that is so great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that got a big laugh out of me. Yeah.
That's great.
Among many other lines and scenes. But we don't want to give too much away. So.
No. This film is not about incest.
Right. Just to make that clear. So it had its world premiere here at Heartland, and you guys were talking about how you guys were a little nervous about that. How did it go? How was the...
Oh, no, it's tonight. We're doing it in 2:45 today.
Yep.
Oh, nice.
No, we did 2 cast and crew screenings, and that was the first audiences that I had seen the film with, so that made me nervous. So we did one in Denver for the Denver crew, we did one in LA for the LA crew, and I was very nervous. I froze up. But it went well. I was like, the first time you watch it with an audience, you're just praying that people think it's as funny as you think it is. Yeah. But, you're stuck. In our case, we were in Dan's basement doing the first cut.
Yep.
And we were down there for like 2 months, just kind of like...
I think it's funny, but, you dissect a joke to the frame over just months and months. Yeah. You're like, I don't know what's funny anymore. I see like the structure of it, but I have seen it so many times. But it's usually helpful when you haven't seen a scene and then you go back after a couple weeks of looking at it, and if it still can sort of make you laugh, I think. And there's still a handful of scenes in the film that if I even think about them, I start laughing. So.
Oh, yeah. Same here. It's a delightful film.
Well, thank you.
And also, I kind of want to touch on this. It deals with some pretty, I wouldn't necessarily say heavy issues, although there is some drama there. It's a dramedy essentially. But one of the things that kind of really stood out to me was the way that it kind of deals with like this. I don't want to say toxic masculinity, but like this kind of like.
You can say
masculinity, kind of like the brothers are all in kind of this state of arrested development, and it's just a really interesting line that you guys kind of toe, because these are pretty self-destructive and outwardly destructive kind of character tools, but the brothers are so likable in spite of that, and it's a really interesting kind of way to characterize it. Can you speak to kind of the themes of it and like how you dealt with those?
Yeah. So sort of the impetus for writing the script. Impetus? Who am I? The thing that sort of spurred us to write it. Scott and I. This was years ago. We would take these hikes when we were living out in LA, and we were just talking about that theme of how we don't feel fully grown up, but we're at an age where we should.
Yeah.
So what's going on there? You feel like a kid, and then we just sort of started thinking of settings. But yeah, that's sort of the theme of the film is where do we get stuck? That arrested development, and why? And how can we tell a story where it forces these characters to deal with sort of this role that they've sort of cemented themselves in. I am this, and I can't move past it. Tim has been in college for 5 or 6 years with no intention to graduate anytime soon. These sort of things, and
the old frat guy.
So yeah, we just thought and we were very aware as we were writing and shooting of these guys are doing some pretty terrible stuff to this
without much consequence, actually.
Yeah. And
other than being really mean to a really nice guy.
Yeah. So we're we have to find moments to make these guys redeemable. One, for us to sort of see their woundedness, to sort of justify why they are the way that they are, and also to just to see, because I think everybody has those things that are like, if you knew this about me, you wouldn't love me. And it's like, no, everybody is still, you can root for them even though they're not the best person in the world.
Right.
And I always thought, a lot of it is obviously the brothers, but I always thought the guy that they're torturing, Alan, I always thought I thought he grew up late. I thought he was just now maturing as well.
I could see that, yeah.
He was never previously married, and he's like in his 50s, and he's just now found love. So I thought that was interesting. We never really tap into that, but that's kind of something I always had in the back of my head.
But is it Pete Gardner?
Pete Gardner, yeah.
Incredible performance. And
he's so good.
Just that character alone is such a great I guess foil to the brothers, and it's such a great combination of characters that you guys lined up there. I don't know. I'm gushing a little bit, but just his performance is incredible, and he's been in so many things.
Yeah. And he's never he's featured in Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. Sorry, I don't know where I've seen. I'm sure he's done films where he's the main feature player, but I just thought he was so good, just spotlight on him. And that character had to be just right, because if it was the wrong actor, you would just not like the boy characters, because they were just like the man boys.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we definitely lucked out, because he's he's a guy who can take it. That we had auditioned a few. Like you said, he's a total foil. They try all this stuff, and this guy is unshakable. Yeah. But in the most annoying, cheery way.
Right.
It's not like he's you can't get me. He's just oh yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
And he was just so great to work with. He came out and just was part of the gang right away, and just such a funny guy on and off camera. He just puts everybody at ease and just goes into a take. And
I have to say, like you said, he's been in a lot of stuff where we're just now kind of creating stuff. Okay. So he kind of pushed us to get stuff done, which was awesome.
Nice.
Because we had him for a very limited amount of time, and there was one day where we're we're losing light. I don't think we can get this scene today. And he's like, no, we should get it today, because once I'm gone, just ran out, and we just went, and that was he went into the river. Wow. It was so he was like, no, let's do it. And he gets out into the water.
Oh, that's
so he was very, also in the editing we noticed his pro chops.
Yeah.
Because some of us, we're writer actors and not, we haven't been a series regular on a TV show. You get that experience. Sure. You could always cut on Pete, because he would have the exact same movements every take. You're like,
oh, that's great.
Oh, good. Because continuity on a low-budget feature like ours, it can be a bit of a headache at times.
That's awesome. And another thing about the film, kind of about the themes of the film as well, is it's not only just man boys and everything. It's also them contesting with their kind of this larger than life ideal that they have for their father who passed away, and how they have to come to terms with just the pedestal that they've placed him on, and how it's completely irrational, and it's very much no one can live up to that image. And that's something that when it gets to kind of the narrative crux of the movie in regards to that, it's a very powerful scene, and it's just I love that there's kind of a shift in tone to an extent from comedy to drama, but everyone is just boom, it's it's right there, and it just feels really really raw and relatable to some people, I'm sure. So I don't really have a question for that. Just good job. That was great.
Thanks. Yeah, we had thought about that, because it's just kind of a given. You start a film and you talk about how great this person was, and obviously, and I think it's culturally nobody wants to tear down somebody who's dead.
Yeah.
We only talk about the good things when we lose someone. And over the years, it sort of becomes this sort of legend that nobody can live up to. Nobody lives that kind of life. Maybe Abraham Lincoln. I'm not sure. Yeah, he probably. But that was something that we were like, yeah, I mean, I think the film in general circles around a theme of like we all have our stuff that we need to work through, and nobody can be everything we want them to be, including the people that we only want to remember them as the best version of themselves, and rightly so. When you lose someone, it's not like you're gonna be like, I'm never gonna forgive them for that.
Right.
It's sort of torturous, but yeah, I'm glad that you picked up on that, because it was definitely something we wanted to.
And I personally think it's important to have dramatic elements to
absolutely
kind of punch up the comedy, because without it, it just becomes one-dimensional. And
it grounds it in this.
Yeah, it like really grounds it, and I think that's really where we're successful. Is we did all these kind of like goofy things, but it was kind of all grounded in kind of reality. And it really boils down to the performances. The performances were very natural. I don't think anyone was really... There was a couple times where we were going for the laugh, but most of the time we weren't really going for the laugh. We were just trying to, like, do the scene, like, as natural as possible.
Yeah, we'll say there were, I think, a few scenes where we went for the laugh, and it was really funny. And it did make it in the film.
Oh, wow.
There's some really funny bits that we cut out because they were really funny, but they either sort of didn't quite fit with what was happening, or sort of killed the momentum of the story. It was really those moments that we just let them play truthfully and honestly. I think we succeeded in setting it up in such a way that it was just funny on its own, just with a natural performance.
Nice. So the film was written. Was it written just by you and Scott?
So Scott and I wrote the initial few drafts, which look almost nothing like the. I had somebody read it, and they're like, "So is it a thriller or?" So we have a friend, Josh Long, who's our third writer on this, and we got the script to a place where it was pretty funny, had a bunch of scenes that were strong, but it just structurally needed some help, and just sort of needed to be stitched together in a craftful way. So he came on board, and he just knocked it out of the park. He works so fast, and he brings his own humor to it. That's just it's a whole other thing. Like Scott and I definitely bring in like the bro humor, but he is so witty, and he sort of has this dry, witty sense of humor that I won't spoil it by like naming his jokes in the film, but sometimes he'd send us like a pass of a draft, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, that is... I would just be dying, just these little quips and things. So,
great.
So there were three of us.
Nice. So you star in the film as Adam, right? And Scott is Tim. And then the third brother, they didn't have it on there, but is it Kevin, if I'm remembering
Kevin,
correctly?
yep.
Yes.
By Eric Stockland.
Eric Stockland.
Eric Stockland plays Kevin.
So, like you and Scott are writing partners and everything. Like, how did Eric Stockland get involved? And are you guys as tight with him, because the chemistry is just out of this world?
Yeah, I think that was kind of just a miracle that we so we worked with the casting director, we put the role out, and he was submitted by his agent, and we looked through, and a lot of the submissions that we saw were just not quite right. Some of them looked more like our brother, but we're just not a fit, either played too young or just too innocent or whatever. And we watched some of Eric's stuff, and I sent it over to Nate, and I was like, I think he's the only one.
Wow.
And Nate was like, yes, I agree. And and so we put the offer out, and thankfully he said he went to our website and watched. We had shot a scene of the movie to raise funds.
Nice.
And so he went to our website and watched that, and because it's our first feature, so to go out to Colorado to do this ultra low budget film. It's a big leap of faith. So he saw that and he was like, okay, I think these guys can make a movie. And so he came out, and it was like pretty instant, sort of kinship. We kind of hung out the first afternoon and evening, and sort of talked through the character. We even talked through the like wardrobe choices.
He was looking for something to some kind of tangible thing to help his character out, and our costume designer had brought this like cape vest hoodie thing. And he really liked it, and I think he was concerned. He was like asking me, he was like, "Can I wear this?" I was like, "Absolutely! Like, you can kind of do whatever you want."
They were kind of joking throughout the day, like, "What if I just wore this for the whole movie?" We just kept joking about it until it. And then we were drinking later the night, and he was like, "Hey, but really though, like, what if I did wear it for the whole movie?" And we're like, "If you want to, do it."
Yeah,
and
nice.
He did.
Yeah, it was definitely for me. It was that character. Could have been taken 100 different directions.
Yeah.
He was so much different than the other two brothers that I was like, it was kind of like an open thing. I was like, I trust you. You can kind of do what you want to do. If I feel it's way out of bounds, I'll just tell you. But it was never out of bounds. Like, he just picked up. He knew exactly what to do.
Very cool.
And he's an actor. Like, he came in and, in the script we wrote him as sort of the brother that just gets picked on. He's sort of the black sheep. And he came in, and one of the first scenes we shot is sort of a scene where he sort of stands up for himself at a certain point in the movie. And Eric did a take, and both me and Scott were like, we sort of had the chills, and we're like, oh no. Like, huddle up, like, this guy is powerful, and also, like, we are being really mean to him, and so, like, we have to find a way for this to be, like, come from a place of, like, a little bit of, like, love and find some affection for our little brother here in this script, because he's such a good actor. If we just abuse him, we are going to be just hated.
Yeah. And that's one angle to that character, the way that he's kind of the most innocent, I would say, of the brothers, and like he's the one that's kind of he's a fan of Alan and the relationship and everything, and it's just an interesting kind of setup to have, like, each individual brother having kind of a different take on what's going on, and like your character has to be kind of convinced and everything. 'Cause of the three, like, your character is probably the most, like, put together and, like, almost the straight man until it's like contending with the idea of your guys' father and
Yep.
Yeah, I would say that character the most is the perspective of the audience.
Yeah.
He's that's the lens that you're looking at the film is kind of through his eyes.
Yeah, we knew we needed somebody in the script to sort of be seeing it through third person. Kevin is such sort of a Zen presence in the family and in the film. He's good with whatever. Like, if we're all happy and everything's good, then I'm good, and, like, he believes the best in everybody. Even his brothers, he loves Alan, he also loves his brothers. So we're like, so we kind of wrote him to be that, to be like, he sees the redeemable qualities in everybody, and he sort of guides the film in that way.
Everything but fish.
Yeah. Fish are not living things.
Well, that's great. So where can people find Man Camp online? Like your social media presence, website, and all that?
Yep. So you can definitely go to our website, which is mancampmovie.com. We'll keep everybody updated with news and information on the film as it gets closer to release. There, Facebook, definitely you can find us there. I think it's facebook.com/mancampmovie. Everything is Man Camp Movie. So our handle on Instagram, @mancampmovie. So you can definitely find us there. probably more active there. We're getting better at the socials. Yeah. We're just a little bit on the older crust of millennials, so it takes work for us.
I had a Facebook account for a really long time, and I just kind of got tired of it, so I canceled it, which is quite a feat. It's really hard to do.
Yeah,
and then we started making this film, and we needed to promote it, and I was like, oh man.
Yep.
So I kind of restarted my Facebook. I have 100 friends. Hey, friend me on Facebook.
Nice. That's great. I did want to ask you about this. There's kind of the use of kind of the drawings of the map and everything, the kind of setting up the different scenarios and stuff. Was that all Dan? Nice.
Yeah, real good at stick figures over here. Yeah, and we actually
Indiana Jones thing we were kind of thinking of.
Yeah,
Totally,
it's like a
totally
cross between Indiana Jones and Home Alone, and we thought, we felt like the vibe of the movie, and you can even see it in our poster art, is like a throwback to sort of those 80s, 90s comedies.
Totally.
And so we just sort of leaned into that and decided to go for it. But yeah, that map actually we drew it for our teaser shoot for fundraising, so it's the same one. We're like, should we draw this again? I don't know. I kind of like this. Yeah. Like the little stick figures on fire running around. It's pretty silly, but
perfect.
And it actually really helped. And I don't want to give too much away, but there's a montage scene, and without
yeah.
Oh yeah. Great. So, do you guys have any stops coming up on the festival circuit?
Yep. So next week we'll be at Austin Film Festival. Nice. So we'll be I think we're speaking on some panels there, showing the film, and then after that we're going home to Denver Film Festival, which is going to be a ton of fun. I think we're going to have good turnout. People are excited about it there. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for chatting with me, and congratulations on the film, on your world premiere here at Heartland, and also just, best of luck on the festival circuit and in the future. I'm really looking forward to following your guys' career, and hopefully sometime we get to chat again.
Thanks so much. Yeah, we'll be back for sure.
Perfect.
Our next film, this is definitely a stop, I hope.
Awesome. All
awesome.
right. Well, I
Thanks
look forward
so much.
to that.
Awesome.
Thank you guys again, and have a great rest of the festival.
Thank you.
Off here. Whew, all right. So
3210, is it working? You got a signal?
Yep, we're good. We're good.
So you get a stereo file out of this, right? And you just got left, right?
Yeah, yep. Basically, it's stereo, and then I left, right, and then I switch it to mono and do all that. Yeah,
and it's in there.
It's the whole process, but sound quality's great.
It's unbelievable.
Oh yeah. So I'm here with Stephen Edwards, director of Syndrome K, which is a featured documentary.
Feature doc.
Here at Heartland, having its world premiere at Heartland. Yep. How did the world premiere go? And tell us about the documentary.
So it was great. It's great to be at Heartland, and we have Hoosiers involved in the film.
It is an Indiana spotlight.
And
perfect.
so it was extra special to have it start its life off here. They basically took us in the festival with a rough cut,
interesting.
It was not close to being finished. For example, our narrator's Ray Liotta, and we had temp narration in there. So Ray brings a whole gravitas to the film. And the music wasn't done, and I wrote the music, so I know it was temp music, and it was all over the place, and it was just when you have the score in there and it's done correctly, it just plays like a different movie.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. 100%. So really special to premiere it to a local. I'm from Michigan, so my family drove down.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So I had my two brothers and my sister and their spouses, and a couple of nieces here and a couple of cousins. So it was really...
Oh, that's huge. Yeah. That's awesome.
And I'm from LA, so...
Nice.
It was... And my girlfriend came, so, it was a family affair.
Very cool. Sweet. And so the documentary, it deals with a very interesting story. I haven't had a chance to see it yet, but it is... Tell us about the story that it's
It's
recounting.
a story... It's called Syndrome K. It's a story of 3 doctors in a Catholic hospital during the Nazi occupation of Rome that made up a fake disease that saved the Roman Jews from being deported to Auschwitz. It's a true story.
Wow, and that is so incredible. And I've kind of been thinking about just the history of the Nazis and everything, and how it's I read I can't remember the massive tome that the Rise and Fall of the Third Reich a year or two ago, and it's incredible to me that it's 75, going to be 70 years, I think.
75 years
75
ago.
years, yeah,
Yep.
75 years ago.
Yep.
I can't do math.
Right.
75 years ago, and like the fear that, you know, I think is like, this is like a horrific thing that's, you know, with enough time, it just becomes history, and like just people like you making documentaries and kind of cataloging everything and really keeping it at the forefront of people's minds, because it's the worst thing like that's that I can fathom, and it's just it's incredible. And like to tell a story like this where, you know, people were saved because of doctors that were working to save them is incredible. So having said all that, like, how did the production go, and how did you kind of attach yourself to the project? How did it come about?
It's kind of an amazing story. So nice. I was procrastinating one day and not work, because I work as a composer. That's my day job. I write music for other people.
Very cool.
And I was procrastinating, not doing my job.
Sure.
On Facebook, trolling around, and a friend of mine shared this story. There was like a little clip about it on some European website. I was like, wow, this is the coolest story I've ever seen. Now, I also happen to be a citizen of Italy.
Oh, wow.
My mother was Sicilian. And I also happen to have made one documentary already that was shot in Vatican City, just completely coincidentally, unrelated to this story.
Okay.
And so I saw it and I said, this is the coolest story I've ever seen. I want to see this documentary. So I started trolling around, looking on streaming sites, looking on Amazon, like, I want to find this film. I'm going to see this film. There was nothing.
Wow.
Out there. Nothing. I mean, I couldn't even find an interview with two of the three doctors. There was no film at all. One of them had a short little clip.
Wow.
And so I looked in, and one of the doctors, Dr. Ozacchini, was still alive and living in Rome.
Oh, wow.
So I moved quickly. So this was March of 18, but I found the story. So here we are in October of 19 with a finished film. So you can imagine how fast this went.
Oh, absolutely.
We literally finished this film 3 weeks ago.
Wow, that is incredible.
The film is still wet, right? I mean, literally.
Right.
So March of 18, I found out about it, and I booked the next flight to Rome and found a Roman Jewish journalist who knows Ozacchini and knew a couple of Jewish survivors.
Wow.
And Ozacchini is 98 years old.
Wow.
So we flew over, got a camera crew, went to his house, sat him down, interviewed him. He told his whole story. And we got the two Jewish survivors whose last name were coincidentally is both Sonino. I think they're distant cousins, but they were kids when it went down.
Wow.
And got their story, and then we Shoah Foundation, Steven Spielberg's foundation that he created out of Schindler's List, where there's 55,000 testimonies of Holocaust survivors, Rwanda, but also a lot of European, Holocaust survivors. Just it's an unbelievable database, and it's based at USC, which is where I live.
Oh,
in Los
nice.
Angeles. So we found Dr. Sacerdotti's interview, which was absolutely 100% key to making our film. I mean, he said stuff that no one else would say. Plus, he was a Jew that was practicing at a Catholic hospital under a fake identity.
Oh, wow.
Changed his name and everything. So he was saving members of his own family right under the Nazis' noses, and nobody ever knew about it.
Wow. The
intrigue is incredible.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just like, how did these people do it? And just the abject bravery in the face. They've got, they're armed with, stethoscopes and medical charts.
Yeah.
And the SS is the SS. I mean, they would have killed everybody in the hospital and killed all the doctors. And,
absolutely.
And they would have killed all the Jews for sure.
Yeah.
In a
just
second.
The bravery and just the for lack of a better word, the balls to do it is incredible.
Yeah. That's what Dr. Ozacchini said. He said, you had to be brave. You can't pee in your pants. We have that as a direct quote. I mean, he's right. And he was beaten by the Gestapo, by the way.
Wow.
He had his butt kicked.
Wow.
And had to, kind of withstand them and hated them.
Right.
They all hated the Nazis. So Syndrome K is named after Herbert Kappler, who was the head of the SS in Rome, and Albert Kesselring, who was the general that Hitler sent to take over Rome.
Oh, wow.
So it was like a flip you off.
Nice.
They named it after the two guys that were their oppressors.
Oh,
that's so Italian.
That is so
Italian.
Cool. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So in making the documentary, since it's such a relatively quick turnaround time and everything, did you have like a clear idea of how you wanted to tell the story, or did anything come up?
I did.
Okay, great.
Almost immediately, there was two things that I just kind of figured it out as I read. I was like, okay, what would I want to see?
Yeah.
First of all, I wanted to see someone else's film. It didn't exist.
Right.
So now I'm thinking, how would I make the film? Right. So the first thing was the Allies basically decided they booted the Nazis out of North Africa. Then they went across and they took boot of the Nazis out of Sicily. Then they jumped across the channel and worked in the lower part of the boot of Italy and worked their way north to Rome. Churchill called it the soft underbelly of Italy, which is, trust me, there was nothing soft and nothing underbelly about it. So by the time there was a 9-month span from the point they landed in Salerno until they liberated Rome in June of 44.
Oh, wow.
Right. So Rome was liberated in June 4th, 1944. 2 days later was D-Day. So it was not a good week for the Nazis.
Yeah.
Right? But, that was a very, very, very difficult battle. I mean, there was 90,000 Allied casualties. Jeez. And people don't even know about it.
Oh, yeah. That is, when you think about, like, just, World War II and just, like, the sheer scale of it, like,
it's unbelievable.
It's unreal. Like, and that's kind of the...
We'll put it this way. Auschwitz, they were killing 14,000 people a day.
Yeah.
For 3 years?
Yeah.
It's the scale of it is...
Yeah.
It's like... If I sat around and thought about that, I would have crawled in a hole and been depressed. I was more interested in the human bravery and the condition of people being great to other people and saving them because that's the right thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a movie about bravery. Really, that's what it is. And just having los cojones, the balls, like you said.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's really what it is.
Nice.
Catholic or Jewish, doesn't matter.
Yep. So, were there any challenges with creating the documentary?
Yes, absolutely.
Nice.
So, there's so many challenges. I could sit here for 3 hours and tell you, but
sure.
We have survivor accounts, but we had to recreate a lot of things.
Oh,
because there's no film of the Nazis coming into the hospital and trying to take the Jews out, right? So some of that we recreated.
Okay.
But we told the backstory. We have really good interviews, and they told stories. And we even animated one sequence where they talk about Nazi trucks going to the hospital, and one of them gets lost. Blah blah blah. There's all this stuff that happens.
Sure.
So we have a lot of archival footage in the movie that we got from Pathé in the United Kingdom, from Luce, which is an archive in Rome. And the U.S. government has quite a serious archive. The U.S. government had color film of the U.S. liberation of Rome in June 4th, 44.
Oh, wow.
They had guys filming it. So we've got color film of it. It's amazing.
Wow.
Astonishing.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And then we found some of the most amazing archival stuff. We have film of Hitler and Mussolini touring Rome together.
Oh, wow.
Like, they were buddies. I have film of Mussolini giving a speech in perfect fluent German.
Oh, wow.
So, I didn't know Mussolini spoke German. Yeah. That explains a lot. Like, those two get together and they're drinking schnapps, deciding how they're going to just basically destroy the world.
Yeah.
That's what I'm sure that's what they did. And I'm sure they spoke in German to each other. So
that's incredible.
I had no idea Mussolini spoke.
Oh, yeah. Wow. So, it had its world premiere here at Heartland.
Yeah.
How's the experience of bringing out the finished product, and do you have anything lined up for the future for next stops on the festival circuit?
That's a really good question, because I don't, basically.
Okay.
We are literally going by the seat of our pants.
Nice. You just finished it.
And I'm working as a musician. Like, I'm working on another show for Warner Brothers right now. I'm working on music for other things. So I'm like I'm a one-arm wallpaper hanger, which is what my old piano teacher used to say.
Nice.
I do a lot of things at the same time, which is great. But we got into this festival. We world premiered here. We have a lot of Hoosiers involved in the movie, which is great. We don't even know what we're doing next. We had one invitation from a Jewish film festival in the States that want us to screen. So that's the only thing we've done. We've applied to 6 or 7 others. There's some people here that are pretty savvy in the festival world, which I am definitely not.
Oh, sure.
And so they say, send it to this one, send it to that one.
Nice.
This one's great. There's 3,000 film festivals in the States.
Yeah.
Every city has one, and some of them don't matter.
Oh, yeah.
And some of them do. And Heartland is become a really big one. So
absolutely.
we're really honored to have a world premiere here. Like, I had family here because I grew up in Michigan, so my family drove down. And Greg, our picture editor, he's from Indy. Our writer, Greg Ballard, is from Indy. So we have a lot of locals that came, and
very cool.
So it's kind of a homecoming in a way.
That is
I'm
awesome.
a Midwest kid.
Nice.
So,
and that's a great place to have a world premiere too. Just it's really great. And I've been covering Heartland for like 4 years now, and it's everyone speaks highly of it and everything. How's your experience been?
It's been great.
Nice.
I mean, from the transportation to the logistics to just making us feel like we're important to them, and it's a two-way street. So just the service and the way the volunteers are and the organization has been first class. I mean, we showed up at the premiere. I'll just tell you a little story.
Sure.
we have it's a Kickstarter movie. Our film is funded by Kickstarter. So 12 people bought these special VIP passes. So we had to buy them 12 seats, and then they get a copy of the movie, and it's like a whole thing where they pledged money to finish our film. Nice. So we're thanking them back, right?
Right.
So I bought 12 tickets, and then our writer showed up with his parents and his girlfriend's parents with no seats, and there's a line out the door.
Oh, wow.
And so we could laugh about that because everybody got in. It all worked out. Nice. But they did turn some people away. And they actually planned a third screening because there was so much demand.
Oh,
so
that's amazing.
This is our third screening today.
That is fantastic.
So it's great.
That is awesome.
So the response has been really good, really positive. I mean, it's a story that needs to be told.
Oh, absolutely. You know? Like I said, it's something that we're coming up on the 75th.
75th.
Wow.
So June 4th of this year was the 75th anniversary of the liberation of Rome.
Jeez.
It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
There's still people around.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing that you can get this kind of content from people that are, like you said, still around. And it's just like, this is, because if the story's not told and not told properly and not everything, it just gets lost to history.
And the other thing that really drove me and really inspired me was, and I'm sure you saw this on Yahoo and all the news sites, it was like 6 months ago, it was really prevalent, is that American kids don't know about the Holocaust. They don't know what Auschwitz was. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
If I can forward that, and I can, even though we don't show ovens, we don't show.
Right.
I mean, we show a little bit of it, but we're not a atrocity movie.
Right.
We're more a movie about bravery and all that good stuff. So.
Can I send you in the corner really quick? Or are you guys wrapping up?
Yeah, we're wrapping up.
We're wrapping up. Yeah. Oh, you're fine. Yeah.
So anyway, that inspired me. Just if we can get the word out.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful.
Just getting the word out. And final thing, is there a social media presence? Website?
Yeah, syndromek.com, and we have a Syndrome K Facebook page. And then we've been way too organized to do anything else so far. So
nice.
We're gonna when we get back and decompress from this festival, we'll do more. So.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me. It's been a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to seeing your work and everything.
I hope so.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, thank you.
Are you going to be using the recording, or are you just using this as scratch?
Well, I'll be using the recording. Okay. It's going to be on a podcast.
A podcast. Okay. Yeah. And you're going to edit it, or not?
Probably not. Maybe.
Okay. So don't F it up.
Yeah. It's nothing to be worried about or anything. So yeah. All right. Well, I'm here with Taria from Moonlight Sonata, Deafness in 3 Movements. Why don't you go ahead and tell me about the film and your experience with Heartland so far?
Sure. The film Moonlight Sonata, Deafness in 3 Movements is a documentary feature. It's here in competition at Heartland. And the film is a family drama about a young deaf boy growing up and learning to play a song that Beethoven wrote when he was going deaf, the Moonlight Sonata. And it's also about his deaf grandfather in the twilight of his life and growing old. And so we explore loss, love, aging, and the creative process.
Wow, that sounds incredible. That sounds like a really great film to have, especially here at Heartland, because Heartland's kind of all about those kind of emotionally charged stories that are emotionally significant and everything. So, can you tell me about the making of the film and how it came about and everything? Yeah.
Well, the film was actually really born out of Jonas, the protagonist. So he's an 11-year-old boy. He's the director's son, and he decided he wanted to play the Moonlight Sonata. And so he ordered the sheet music online and started learning it. And Irene thought she would start to get to know the piece, and soon discovered this beautiful backstory that Beethoven wrote it while he was going deaf. And so she discovered that there was just this beautiful poetic coincidence that just had to be put on camera. And so we started filming Jonas first, but then as we filmed, we discovered her father was undergoing this big change in his life and grappling with his mind. And so we organically started filming that, and then discovered that there might be an analogy here with what Beethoven might have gone through when he went deaf and losing his most prized possessions. So, the film was a really organic process, and a lot of it came together in the edit.
Oh, I'm sure. Especially, it's a documentary feature, and I'm always fascinated by just that genre. Essentially, it's just like the filmmaking what it takes to make that is just so organic. It kind of comes out in such a unique way. So were there any kind of surprises that you guys had along the way? And also, what was your role within the film as well?
Yeah. So Irene and I made the film together. I was the producer. I also ran field sound. I shot some of the film, and I was the assistant editor.
Wow.
So, we were a really small team. Irene, in addition to being the director, was a producer. She's a cinematographer. We worked with a DP who came for certain shoots, and then we had an editor, Bill Weber, who's a great editor who really brought beautiful empathy and tenderness to the film. What was your question?
Were there any surprises along the way that kind of shifted?
Sure. I think the big surprise was the role that Irene's father, Paul, would play in the film. We were not expecting him to play as big a role as he does, and he really is, part of this triad of protagonists now. I think Paul's experience as a deaf person growing up in the 20th century was just so markedly different from Jonas's in the 21st century, and so that was really fascinating to us. But his own loss became a very poignant, prominent part of the film.
Oh wow! Well, that sounds incredible. It sounds like there's a lot going on with this, and it's something that people may not just really be aware of, like the struggles of being having deafness in your family or being deaf yourself. Like that's a really interesting kind of perspective to present to an audience. I don't really have a question to that, but
but to that point, I think you're right. The film is a real mosaic of family life, and I think the beauty of the film is in those little moments that we've captured over the course of our filming, but also the course of the 80 years of home movies that we meticulously went through, and I think connecting those dots into this story is really, I think, the beauty of the film. It's not so much in one landmark event happening in the film or anything. It's just in the constellation of these beautiful little moments.
That's fantastic. That is like the kind of that type of approach and that type of narrative in a documentary is something that really appeals to me. Just like that kind of tenderness, the emotional core of the protagonist, and as opposed to like being like, like we're learning this and we're going to do this and everything. It's just more just open and honest, really.
I think that vulnerability and that honesty is what we're finding audiences are really relating to. People want to see that on the screen, and we don't a lot. So people are that's really something people are resonating with.
That's very good. So it's been here at Heartland. How's the experience been? How's the screening? How have the screenings been? If you guys haven't.
Well, I actually arrived at 1 a.m. last night.
Wow!
So we have our first screening this afternoon.
Oh, nice.
We have a screening tomorrow and also on Sunday. So I'm really excited to have our first screening and talk to the audience, and I'll let you know after.
Awesome. And have you had any experience with Heartland before, or how's the festival run been as well?
Yeah, this is my first time at Heartland, but Irene's sort of spiritual prequel about her parents played here in 2007 or 8, so about 10 or 12 years ago. Wow. But our festival run has been fabulous. We premiered at Sundance in January, and and since then been playing festivals around the country and in Canada. And, we've always been trying to attend every festival. Also, we've been we closed captioned and open captioned the film, so we've been able to play the film as an accessible screening at all of the festivals, and I think that's been big for us as well, is bringing the film to deaf and blind audiences, and also just being able to really interact one-on-one with our audience and hear what their hear their feedback. That's huge as a filmmaker.
Nice. Do you have any stops lined up next after Heartland?
Actually, Irene is currently in Rochester. Then we play in Montclair next week. We're going to be playing in LA next week. Milwaukee the following week. So we've got a busy fall ahead of us. We just released the film theatrically, so it's playing at cities nationally right now, and then we'll be broadcasting on HBO in December.
Oh, that's great! Wow,
That is a hugely successful run. Wow, congratulations.
Yeah,
That
it's
is
keeping
amazing.
us very busy, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Do you have social media or a website for the film? That
Yeah. We're primarily on Facebook at Moonlight Sonata Doc.
Perfect.
You can also find us on Instagram and then at www.moonlightsonatadoc.com.
Perfect. That's great. And I don't really have anything. anything
Awesome.
else.
It was really great talking to you.
Oh, great talking to you too.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for chatting with me. And again, congratulations on just the film and the success and everything you guys are sure to have in the future as well.
Thanks so much.
No
Appreciate
problem.
it.
Thank you. All right, so I'm here with Jennifer McShane, the director of Ernie Joe, which is here at Heartland. It is a documentary feature finalist, right, in competition.
Yeah.
So I haven't had a chance to see Ernie Joe yet.
You can come tonight at 8.
Tonight at 8. I think I may actually. Yeah, I might. But I'm trying to think of it because my schedule's all crazy. But I'm very excited to see it because it sounds like a really interesting documentary. It's about two Texas police officers who are working to change the way that they respond to mental health calls. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
They're part of a mental health unit, a team of about 15 officers now, who are dedicated to diverting people from, instead of arresting them, pointing them in the direction of proper treatment.
Wow.
And it's had a huge impact in San Antonio in terms of how they're dealing with that population. And I think it's just a great inspiration for lots of other communities because most cities and towns, even rural areas, are all dealing with the same issue. Mental health is a huge issue in our country. And how we deal with it, I think making sure that law enforcement, when they arrive on the scene, because 9 times out of 10 they're the first responder because that's who people call.
Right.
So they need to really understand what they're viewing, what they see, what's in front of them, and if it's somebody in crisis, how do you de-escalate and make things better?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's why it sounds like such an interesting kind of a take or an interesting kind of story to tell, shine a light on, really.
Oh, it was amazing, too, and I had amazing access, which I'm very grateful for. They were just terrific. I filmed for 2.5, almost 3 years.
Oh, wow.
And, not every day, obviously, but I came back periodically. But they were very open to allowing me to follow them everywhere, including their personal lives.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It was great, and I was very blessed to have such characters. They're really funny and very open, and it was great. It's the best thing is when you have 2 good characters to tell a complicated story.
Oh, absolutely.
And I got lucky.
Yeah, and giving you such access to it is really remarkable, especially, in terms of, it's law enforcement, you would think you would be a little bit more restrictive in terms of access and everything.
No, I know. And I was, my last film was filmed in a maximum security prison in New York. Yeah. And I filmed inside and outside of the prison for about 4 years. And that was very tough access. I was expecting something similar with the police department, but they really were terrific. I have to say, I think they're very proud of the work they're doing.
Oh, absolutely.
And so they feel really good about it, which makes it easier to share it and be happy about it. So it was a good experience.
Oh, absolutely. That's great. So, so you shot for about 3 years.
Yep.
I like to ask this of documentary filmmakers specifically because it's a genre that is so fascinating to me because it is so open in terms of just how you present everything. How did the narrative of it come about in the editing, and how did you shape it? How did all that go?
Yeah, that is a great question because since there wasn't kind of a natural kind of beginning, middle, and end, because we're just following them. It's a very immersive. I wanted it to be immersive. I wanted it to feel like a ride. Just you were on a ride along with them basically for an hour and a half. So it's very intimate. It's a lot of verite, not a lot of interviews. It's mainly just being with them. And I had an amazing editor, Toby Shimon, who worked with me to take 300 hours of footage and turn it into kind of a really coherent 95 minutes. And basically, we tried to focus as much on the characters of the two officers and kind of tell this story through their eyes. And then there's a few people in crisis who we follow throughout. So it was, we had so much good footage. It was a bit of a challenge, but I feel very happy with how it ended up. And the director-editor collaboration is so important in this world. Yeah,
I'm sure, absolutely. And just real quick, because I'm afraid I'll forget about it. What was the name of the maximum security documentary you did?
My last film was called Mothers of Bedford. I followed 5 women who were mothers in a max, and kind of how they deal with parenting and mothering.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and that project is really what was kind of the impetus for this project.
Very cool.
Because I felt that it was very sad and alarming how many people behind bars are dealing with some kind of mental health challenge or untreated mental illness. So when I found out about the work happening in San Antonio, it really spoke to me specifically because I had made this last film. So it kind of dovetails it. So.
Absolutely. And how did you come about, how did you catch wind of this story, and how did you come about, starting the whole process?
Well, I had a mutual friend had written an article on what was happening in San Antonio and how they were dealing with mental health in a different way. Okay. And the SAPD, the police department, and the mental health unit was featured in that article. Oh, nice. And I thought, this sounds amazing. And someone actually sent me the article thinking it would be of interest to me based on my last film.
Nice.
And I thought, this is wonderful. I wrote back to the woman who wrote it and said, bravo, great work. This is a beautiful story. We need more of it. And she said, would you want to meet? Would you want to be introduced? And I said, I'd love to. So that led to me going out to spend some time with the mental health unit. And I kind of went out and visited for about a week without a camera. And I was convinced within a day or two that this was a really important story. And these particular officers would be a great vehicle to tell the story. So, that's how it happened. And now we're doing the film festival circuit.
Yeah. How's that been so far?
Wonderful. Absolutely great. Audiences are really engaged and responsive. Everybody is dealing with this either with family members or friends or their relationships with law enforcement. There's a lot of ways in for people in terms of how to connect with the film. And I'm really excited. There are 2 more screenings of Ernie and Joe here in Indianapolis, and I'm really looking forward to meeting the audiences.
Nice. And so that the next 2 screenings there's one tonight
at 8 p.m. And then tomorrow, I'm not sure. I can't remember the time tomorrow. Sorry.
Sure.
I think it's around 5. But I know tomorrow on Saturday it's at Castleton.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a frame recording, so I'll make sure to mention
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, how's the experience been with Heartland? How have the screenings gone and everything?
Terrific. I mean, unfortunately, we've had so many festivals this month that I just arrived last night.
Oh, okay.
So I haven't. I'll be at the last 2.
Nice.
But everyone has been so friendly and wonderful. Nice. I can't say enough about the festival.
That's great.
Really terrific. There was someone at the airport to volunteer to help get me settled. It was really terrific.
Yeah, they're from everything I've heard, they're really great at just providing for the filmmakers and everything.
No, it's wonderful. Really great.
Great, nice. And have you had any experience with Heartland before?
No, this is my first time, great. So I'm delighted because I've heard great things about it from other filmmakers, and your programmers are terrific. So I'm really pleased to be, and I'm very honored to be in the finalists category.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's huge because there's a lot of films here. So I'm very thrilled to be in that category.
Yeah, and I was saying before to another filmmaker, this, I've been covering Heartland for about 4 years now, total, and they always have a really great selection, but this year I've noticed it's just knocking it out of the park. Everything is just so good, and yeah, that's just, it's incredible.
It's impressive.
Absolutely. So how about social media, website, and everything?
Yep, Ernie and Joe the film. Nice. On Facebook, we're on Instagram, on Twitter. So please get on, like us, tell your friends about it, come out and find out more. We're very excited to meet our audience.
Perfect. And do you have any stops lined up for?
Yeah, we'll be at Hot Springs, Arkansas next after this, and then we're going to be at in Milwaukee, Naples, Florida, Virginia, Dock NYC in New York. So it's kind of the train keeps going, and it's all good. It's all good.
That's awesome, and it's an important subject to cover. Like you said, mental health and mental illness is so important, and it's something that is so if people don't have that in their family or in their life or anything, it's easy to just kind of turn a blind eye.
Exactly.
And I come from a police family as well, so that law enforcement angle it's so interesting because there's such a vibe in culture that I've seen videos of police that don't handle mental health calls correctly, and it's something that
and it's unfair and it's unfair to the officer too if we're not training them to deal with it properly. Then it's hard to kind of expect a good outcome. So I think a lot of this goes back to training, how we train officers, and also something that the film touches on that was not what I had planned when I first started making the film, but it deals with the officer's own mental health.
Oh, wow.
And because, most people don't know that police officers are more likely to die at their own hand than in the line of duty.
Yeah.
The suicide trend for law enforcement is through the roof. It's really kind of scary.
Yeah.
And so we do talk about that in the film, which I think for officers who are in the audience are like, oh, yeah, we need to think about our own well-being, our own mental, especially in the job they have.
Yeah.
They need to be mentally kind of feeling their best.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, I come from a police family. My brother's a police officer. My dad was a retired police officer. And my mom worked in dispatch and everything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, tell them all to come see Ernie and Joe.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And also one of my co-hosts is a police officer as well.
Wow.
But just growing up, my family would be like, why don't you be a cop? And I'm like, I don't have the capability. I'm just not that mentally. I can't do. That's a job I cannot fathom doing.
Right. No, it does take a certain personality. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Without a doubt.
And it's something that's so. It's I don't know. It's easy. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but it's easy to kind of armchair, spectate, police behavior and everything. And there are some cases where clearly there is something that should not have been done and everything. But sometimes it's you're only seeing only hearing about a very small part of even just a call. It could there are so many other extenuating circumstances and stuff, and it's so hard for people to kind of put themselves into that position. So.
Yeah, I think whenever the behavior is wrong, it needs to be called out and needs to be accountable. But I also think when they're doing it, when officers are doing it correctly, like in the case of the mental health unit, we also need to highlight that and show it as a good example.
I 100% agree because just with everything, any type of progress with just how law enforcement handles calls like that are by definition incredibly delicate and volatile at times as well. It's just something that needs to be highlighted and I guess thank you for doing that and creating this film.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Nice. Well, I can't wait to check it out. I'm going to try to see it tonight or tomorrow. I actually don't think I can see it tonight, but I'll try to see it tomorrow.
Okay.
But yeah, congratulations on such what I'm sure is an exhausting festival run. And
it's great though. It's terrific to see people's reactions in person, and there's always amazing questions, and people share. It's great. Perfect. So I'm excited. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah, congratulations again on being a finalist as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
All right. Okay, so I'm here with Ashton Gluckman, right?
Yes.
Filmmaker. I talked to him on the red carpet. You heard it in the previous episode. You're here for... We Shall Not Die Now. Which is a documentary that So I'm going to disclose this. Don't get me in trouble at work or anything, but in my day job, I'm fortunate enough that Heartland gave me some screeners. So I actually watched your film today.
Oh, wow.
On my phone at work. But,
Yeah.
But man, it's... just go ahead and tell us about the film again,
Sure.
and then I'll gush over it.
So the film chronicles the Holocaust, and it's told by the survivors, liberators, the scholars who study the Holocaust. And we went around the world and actually filmed at all of the concentration camps in Poland, and we spoke to over 25 different witnesses of the Holocaust. And so it was an incredible experience just getting the chance to actually go to the ground zero of where these things happened. And specifically, Auschwitz in Poland. And I think specifically because it's the 75th anniversary next year, it only happened 75 years ago, and it feels as though that's a long time ago, but it really was yesterday.
Oh, absolutely. So, and I was talking to the filmmaker of Syndrome K, and with it being 75 years, like that, there's this fear that I have that it's going to be lost to history, and just like these are stories that need to be told, and like watching the documentary, I was like, I can't believe like there are interviews with people that were there, and it's really incredible.
And I think the thing was with our film, a lot of the people we were interviewing are 75 up to like 100 years old.
Yep.
So specifically, a lot of the survivors who were in their teen years during the Holocaust are now in their 90s.
Yeah.
So in around 10 to 15, 20 years, we won't have any survivors to actually talk to, see with our own eyes. So it's super important that while they're here and while we have that opportunity to listen and to learn, and especially next year, where all of these anniversary events are going to start happening, especially the liberation of Auschwitz in January, to use that opportunity to sort of reflect and learn from those messages that the survivors share.
Absolutely. So when we previously talked, you talked about how you went kind of just almost like one-person camera crew. Just went to all these locations and everything. First of all, just the shots that you got were just beautiful.
Oh, thanks.
And I really liked, there's this... You made the choice to do black and white,
right?
Which I thought was very, very like connective with like the archival footage that you had and everything. Can you speak to kind of what your inspiration was for that and how it came out?
So when I started the film, the actual footage that's in that film that's in black and white is all the footage that I filmed in Poland, all of the interviews. And then we actually went into the archives and actually went through over 100 hours of footage from this 1970s documentary called Shoah. And all of that footage was outtakes that didn't end up in the final film.
Oh, wow.
So all of that footage that you see that's in color, we left in its original state. And that was actually filmed by the incredible Claude Lanzmann in the 1970s. So we combined those two elements together. And I think the thing was about the black and white is it really just did meld into the archival footage, which I think black and white, it just has that certain, it's deprived of color, so you really get a very visceral response to it because it really relates to the images that we imagine of the Holocaust.
Oh, absolutely. And like there's the archival footage, like it's appropriately so, it's haunting. It is just like, it's not, you don't shy away from like showing just what an atrocity it was. And like that's something I really respect because it's something just, it's so intense, but it needs to be seen.
And one of the things we made the decision of is we weren't going to really show all of that very extreme footage until the end of the film, because realized that the Holocaust was occurring over the span of around 6 years. And it was only when the liberators, the U.S., English liberators came into the camps and actually saw the result of all this stuff. That's really the first time that people were seeing with their own eyes what really happened. They'd heard about it. They knew it was happening. But in terms of actually seeing it, so we wanted to do the same thing for the audience. We wanted them to sort of instinctively put the puzzle pieces together, and then at the end of the film show them what those liberators and what the people were seeing for the first time, which is an unimaginable horror that many of the people that we spoke to who were liberators, who are again in their top 90s right now, one was 97, it's a memory that still stays with them, and the certain specifics of it are sort of difficult to imagine. The smell of the charred flesh and the bodies, which were stacked like hardwood, many of them described. But it's super important, as difficult as it is to remember. It's super important for us as humanity now to really ingrain that within our memory.
Absolutely. And just the I really like the way it's kind of segmented into different chapters or different parts, and the way that you do shine a light on the kind of some of the uprisings and like the the big one that
the Warsaw Ghetto battle.
Warsaw Ghetto.
But so that's the interesting thing about the Holocaust is many people have used the phrase, which I'm not a fan of at all, is sheeping led to the
That's one part in the documentary I was really into, because when you guys talk about that.
Yeah, and the remarkable thing is there was so much uprisings, there was so much revolts. Yeah. For example, at Auschwitz in 1944, there was a prisoner revolt, and prisoners who worked in the Sonderkommando who were forced to burn bodies and lead the gassing process at Auschwitz actually brought in a bomb and brought in gunpowder and were able to blow up the crematorium and were able to find axes or anything they could find and charge at the Germans. Of course, they were completely outnumbered and they didn't have any automatic weapons, so the uprising was smashed within less than an hour. But there was that courage and there was that humanity which was always there, no matter what was happening to these people, which are unimaginable. They always kept that sense of their humanity, and there was a lot of courage involved with it.
Oh, totally. Like when there's that the survivor recounting, just like how it, like they felt alive in that moment, and it's just like that is that's a triumph, because that is what Nazis were doing. They were dehumanizing them, looking at them as non-humans, and it's just like knowing that they were able to at least break free of that in some capacity is just really inspiring and incredible.
And that's the thing, is that you can take away pretty much anything, and they did take away absolutely everything from these people. But the one thing that you can't take away is that core humanity, and they were able to keep it throughout the whole process. And I think what they said specifically in the documentary about the revolts is that they knew that they were going to die from these revolts. They knew that there was zero chance, but they wanted to die fighting, and they wanted to die with the dignity that they felt, and they did. And I think it's something to admire and really learn from, that even in the darkest periods in history, to really just stick up for what you believe in. And
oh, absolutely. So something I didn't get a chance to talk to you about on the red carpet was that you are an Indianapolis native. How did this? Okay, let me take that again.
Sure.
You're from Indianapolis. How did you decide to become a filmmaker? Tell me about your history with and your relationship with film.
Yeah, so ever since I was 6 years old, my dad and I have been going to movies every weekend.
Nice.
And so just as a film, I'm just a huge film lover, and I love to talk about films, and so it was always a strong part of me, and especially when Christopher Nolan started coming out with all these huge, mega, beautiful epics Inception and Interstellar. Those things were really just inspiring to me, because it sort of matched absolutely exceptional narrative storytelling with mega innovative technical achievements. And that stuff started to really, really inspire me to want to pursue filmmaking. And so I directed a lot of short films starting when I was 12 or 13.
Wow.
But this was my first legit sort of feature film endeavor. But yeah, I mean, film is just such a cool thing, because it's able to really transport you anywhere, introduce you to any story. Really, it's just a great tool of storytelling that combines so many individual core storytelling elements.
I totally agree. That's why I love covering it.
Right. We're all film fans. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Who would you say would be your some of your inspirations in terms of sort of person that I look up to, actually, is interestingly enough Werner Herzog. Oh, interesting.
And
nice.
So he has a very interesting approach to documentary filmmaking. I think that the thing I love so much about his films is that you can just feel that they're able to breathe. And he has these long sequences that are just music, and the images that he has, and he uses mainly handheld camera work. And it's always very, very simple, very elemental, but it always has a very visceral, emotional feeling. And another one that I really, really like, and as cliche as it sounds, Ken Burns. I love his films. I remember going through the whole entire Civil War documentary series and Vietnam War, and I just love how he's able to present information, even if it's just a simple photograph, to make that interesting and compelling. So those two for sure are big ones for me.
Nice. And so how long did it take to do all the interviews and stuff for this project?
So I actually started the like the hardcore research and preparation and planning and lining out the linear story, because for this film, as you were talking about earlier, we laid it out linearly because we wanted to take the audience through the Holocaust step by step and show the fact that the Holocaust did not happen overnight. The killings didn't occur overnight. It was a result of hundreds of years of sort of evolution and propaganda, and it was very much so a natural evolution of what had been occurring over the past few thousand years. And so we start all the way back in like the 4th century for a bit, and then we go through, the Holocaust, but also we don't end there. We go into the Nuremberg trials and the sort of reflections of the survivors looking back now. So we started all that preparation research at the U.S. Holocaust Museum in March. I spent 3 months filming the film. I came back, I spent a few months editing the film, and then I did the music for the film.
Nice.
And so it was sort of like a 9-month process all in all. But it was definitely nonstop and very constantly interesting and a lot of problem solving.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So you also did the music as well. How did that process go? Like, did you have like ideas in your head like while you were creating it, or was it like all in the end?
Yeah. I think the really interesting, fun thing about doing the music is the fact that it was all done in the same computer. So usually when you're an editor on a film, you're having to send out different cuts to the composer, and things are constantly changing, and the composer is in another state or another wherever. And so for this film, everything was being done in one machine. So I was able to go from my editing software to my composing software and literally write cues in an hour and take it over into the film. So we wrote over an hour and 30 minutes of music, I think, for the film, which wasn't always used. But the music is definitely something like whenever I'm filming, even on set, we're not on set on this film, but on location at all of these places, I'm imagining melodies or sounds in my head. And so when I get into the music stage, it's really just like seeing how to make those come alive and bring them to reality.
That's fantastic. And like I'm a film guy. I'm not like a music guy at all, but I really enjoyed the score.
Thank you.
Really great.
Thank you so much.
So, how has your experience been with Heartland this week? It had its world premiere here. How did that go? How's the experience?
So, I mean, I cannot be like more crazy grateful for Heartland because it was our world premiere. It was the first opportunity we had to share the film with audiences, and the fact that so many people came out. I think both of our screenings were sold out screenings.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I'm just beyond grateful that people came out and saw the film, and there was a warm reception. And I think the thing about Heartland that's so unique and exceptional is the fact that it's such a community. So I've met so many people from around the world and gotten the chance to really get inspired by them and learn from them. So it's 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks, that I really just will remember for a long, long time. So
that's great to hear. And also you do have the advantage of being local as well. So it's like you get to like go home and sleep in your own bed.
Exactly. So my house is literally 3 miles away from the main sort of theater location at Heartland. So it's definitely a very cool place to be.
Nice. That's great. And have you been to Heartland before? This
is my first time ever at any film festival, and also at Heartland. So it was totally new for me, and I've seen quite a few films over the past week or so, and it's just so cool having such a rich, collection of different kinds of movies, all in one place.
Yep. And they've curated an incredible selection.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Greg and Adam and Julie. I mean, they've all done a really good job of capturing like a really wide range of different kinds of films, but also in terms of really low budget independent films, all the way up to Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood and A24 Netflix.
Yep.
So you have a huge variety of films to choose.
Yeah.
So it's a great place to come out and meet new people, and Carmel and Indianapolis and this whole area is a fun place to be. So
totally agree.
Yeah.
So where can people find We Shall Not Die Now, like online? And,
so We Shall Not Die Now will be playing in Los Angeles. It'll have its Los Angeles premiere on December 3rd. It will be joined by Dr. Berenbaum, who is the head curator of the U.S. Holocaust Museum.
Nice.
And he'll be there, and he'll be speaking beforehand and giving a Q&A afterwards, and I'll be there as well. And then the film will be available worldwide on digital streaming platforms on December 5th, actually.
Perfect.
So that'll be available on Amazon, iTunes, and Google Play for anyone that wants to see it. And we'll also be screening around at different other things like Miami Jewish Film Fest and other things. So,
do you have a website or social media?
We do. So it's We Shall Not Die Now movie.com.
Perfect.
And then we also have a Facebook and Yeah.
Nice. And I do want to mention, is it Dr. Barenbaum?
Dr. Barenbaum, yeah.
Barenbaum. He was the one that had a large chunk of interview.
Yes.
Incredible. Like his like just the way he articulated everything is just so just heart-wrenching, really.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in Barenbaum, I think he has such a rich way of communicating really massive ideas in such an accessible way. You know what I mean? Like so many of the things that he's saying, he's able to say it in such like a simple, understanding way that really connects with you emotionally. And I think like the one thing about him is actually the interview that we captured was only 2 hours long. This like one day, I think it was 5 or 6 months ago. But the amount of range that he covers in his interview is pretty exceptional, and hopefully that comes through in the film.
Yeah, very thorough and just like I said, just very well articulated and everything, which is great. So well, thank you so much, Ashton, for chatting with me. And
thank you so much.
Congratulations on the film, on premiering it here at Heartland, on the everything.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you.
Alrighty, Ashton out.
So, I'm here with Matt Ratner from, the film is called Standing Up, Falling Down, which I have not had a chance to see yet, but I'm going to see it hopefully tonight. I'm so excited. Just the pedigree of Billy Crystal and Ben Schwartz. I'm a huge fan of his, so I'm really looking forward to checking it out. So
thanks, man.
Yeah, so why don't you go ahead and tell us about the film and your experience with Heartland so far?
Sure. So the film's about a struggling stand-up comedian who fails completely in Los Angeles, has to move back home to Long Island, move in with his parents, tail sort of tucked between his legs. The one who got away is there. She's gotten married. And then he strikes up this unlikely friendship with his pot-smoking alcoholic dermatologist, as one does.
Sure.
And Ben Schwartz plays the struggling stand-up, and Billy Crystal plays the dermatologist. So if you've ever wanted to see Billy Crystal talk about skin conditions, this is your chance.
Oh, I've been dreaming of that for years now. So I'm really excited to check this out. Can you tell us about like how it came about? Like you're the director. Did you also write it, or
no? I produced it as well. My background's in independent film producing, and I'd been looking for something to direct for a long time. And then a producing colleague of mine sent me this script and read it, and immediately felt like it wasn't a story that I wanted to tell. It was a story I needed to tell.
Nice.
So, and the writer's a brilliantly talented guy by the name of Peter Hoare. He and I worked together for a while, and he's really become like one of A, an incredibly close friend, but B, just one of the great collaborative working relationships of my career.
That's awesome. Nice.
And it went from there.
Great, that's fantastic. Like I said, it sounds like a great movie. I'm really it's one of the ones that I circled in the guidebook.
I'm biased, but I like it.
Nice. So is this your directorial debut?
It is.
Nice, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's fantastic. How did it go in terms of the production and everything? How has that experience been?
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, I think one of the benefits of coming to directing from my original background's in theater, and so I have a background working with actors, which is really helpful. And then coming at it from a producing background, I'm used to working with first-time directors, and I'm used to knowing how to sort of build a schedule and do various things during production to protect first-time directors. I'm just not used to that person being me.
Right.
But then, the biggest challenge in that regard is knowing, when and how to take the producing hat off so that you can really focus on directing. And part of that's having a great team. And I was fortunate to have a number of people on board that I worked with before, and it really was, knock on, I guess, we wrapped, so I don't have to knock on wood anymore. Right. But it really was a smooth production.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm sure it sounds like you had a lot of experience going into it as well on several different sides of it, so that's great.
Well, I think there are a lot of good films that come off of bad sets, and there are a lot of really lovely, harmonious sets that produce really bad movies. I think if you can have both, it's much better.
Nice. Great. So how did Billy Crystal get attached to it as well?
Yeah, so I never give credit to agents, but I'll actually give credit to agents.
Nice.
So we, when you're trying to get a film like this made, every major agency assigns someone to be basically the covering agent for it. And so they read it, they form their own judgment about it, and then they either advocate for it internally or not. And we were really lucky because our person at Billy's agency was incredibly supportive of the script, met with me, incredibly supportive of me and the way I saw the film. And, we'd had Billy on some initial total wish list of pie in the sky, never going to happen.
Sure.
And got feedback that there might be some possibility he'd look at it. And the last thing you want to do is waste a month waiting for Billy Crystal to not read the script.
Sure.
But we felt like there was a good enough chance that he'd at least look at it. And then I think maybe we sent it to him 2-3 days later. I was on a plane back to Los Angeles to meet with him, watching When Harry Met Sally on the flight to cram.
Oh, yeah.
And it went from there.
That is fantastic. Are you based in LA? Or?
I'm based in LA, yeah.
Based in LA?
But
nice.
we shot in New York, but I'm based in LA.
Okay. Sweet. And how did Ben Schwartz get involved as well?
So the movie's really about this unlikely friendship between the two of them, and because it's not a studio film, it's not like we were going to have the ability to screen test. And so finding someone where that chemistry would be there from day one, because we also had a very limited rehearsal time, was pivotal. And so I had a short list of, I think, 5 or so actors that we were looking at for that part. And then once we brought Billy into the fold, brought him on board, obviously that chemistry being so important, he really sparked to Ben's work. And then Ben was actually shooting something in Atlanta, so we spent a lot of time on the phone. I didn't meet Ben until, I think, 2 days before we started filming.
Oh, wow.
But thankfully, through our conversations and through him chatting with Billy, we're able to get him on board as well.
That's great. Like I said, I'm really excited.
He's brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
And
he's, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think for both of them, there's a dramatic ability there, and there's a sort of skill and a craft as actors where, if you know Ben predominantly through his UCB stuff, predominantly through his, Parks and Rec, his range as an actor, I think, is really on display in this film.
Nice, and that's what I'm really. That's one of the things I'm really excited about seeing. Just because, like you said, I know him from his comedic work and everything. Also, his appearance on Comedy Bang Bang, just incredible. Both the TV show and the podcast. But anyway, so I'm really excited to see a different side of him that I'm not accustomed to in terms of my fandom of him, I guess. So this has screened at Heartland. How has the festival run been? How has your experience been with Heartland as well?
It's been great. So we premiered at Tribeca and then sold to a terrific company called Shout Studios, who will be releasing the film in February. So if you're not at Heartland, you can see it in February. I think we'll be in about 20 cities and on demand in all your various platforms.
That's awesome.
And it's exciting. And then being at Heartland's really special because, first of all, I had a film that I produced that was here previously. I'm from Cleveland, so the Midwest is near and dear to my heart.
Nice.
And they just do a tremendous job. A, they're passionate about all their films, and B, I think a lot of film festivals are very niche, and one of the things that's great about Heartland is you can be exposed to so many things, from Oscar contenders to the films that you haven't seen in theaters since the 80s that you get to see the 35 mil print of, to independent fare like ours, and the ability to do all that in one contained space is really unique.
Nice. And you said you've been at Heartland before with another film?
So I wasn't able to go, but I had a film called Band of Robbers that was here a few years ago. Yeah.
Nice. Is that still on Netflix now?
It is, yeah.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I haven't got a chance to see it, but yeah.
I again, a little biased, but I highly recommend it.
Oh, nice. We got the Matt Ratner seal of approval.
Exactly.
On that. Perfect. Great. Yeah. So, can you talk about your inspirations as a filmmaker? Who do you look at in terms of who's inspired you the most in terms of just the film realm?
I mean, I've always been drawn to stories that aren't neat. I've always believed that life is messy, and that it's okay if it's one thing for filmmaking to be messy, it's another thing for films to be messy. Yeah. And when it's messy on purpose, that's okay. Nice. And I've always believed that life is comedy and drama, and it's often both at the same time. Yeah. You're often laughing and crying. And so for me, one touchstone for me for this film particularly was Sideways. Even nice. I think Alexander Payne tends to navigate that incredibly well.
Yeah.
And tends to find the humor in the everyday, and his work's always grounded in a realism that I really respond to. There's a play I read years ago, I think I was in college, called Stones in His Pockets, which is it's a two-hander. It's an Irish satire, and the that was the first thing I can remember experiencing. I saw it in. It's the first thing I remember experiencing where I was laughing so hard that I didn't notice when I got punched in the stomach.
Oh, nice.
And so that's that feeling has, and not in an emotionally manipulative way, in an emotionally earned way. That's really stuck with me.
Nice. That's fantastic. And so, in directing this film, were there any kind of like challenges or changes along the way? You said it was a fairly everything kind of clicked together. But like, did the project change or morph at all, like throughout the process of shooting?
Sure. It's been people. I think because of obviously Ben comes from an improv background. Billy's as iconic as it gets in the comedy
absolutely.
space. People always ask about the amount of improv on set, and the truth is, while there was some of that, and I think when you. Part of filmmaking is hire good people and empower them to do their best work. So if Billy or Ben wanted to try something, anytime time permitted, I would do it. But a lot of that work came actually in pre-production, where we really worked the script with the four of us, the writer, myself, Billy, and Ben, and to find the truth in it, and to find to add Billy and Ben's voices to the characters. So a lot of that work was done in prep, which on an indie where your shooting schedule is so tight, you really have to do it that way.
Yeah.
And then there are a lot of things that change on the day. I think a lot of filmmaking is having a plan so you can deviate from it.
Nice.
Not being so rigidly devoted to the way you saw the movie in your head because it's the movie you're shooting now.
Right.
And you create those opportunities for serendipity.
Nice.
And there are lots of things where you got to listen to your actors. And there are a couple of specific moments where we changed blocking, we changed, in some cases, we changed location on the fly because of feedback from actors that I always tell if you don't believe what you're saying, there's no way you can expect an audience to believe it. So if something doesn't feel right, talk to me about it.
Nice.
And if we can make it work, we will. And sometimes production realities get in the way and we find a way to justify it. But yeah.
Great. That's awesome. And also, just kind of on the similar subject, like, do you have any like advice for aspiring filmmakers? Like, because you come from production and everything, and then this is your directorial debut. Like what kind of like insider tips can you give for aspiring filmmakers who may be listening?
It's a good question. There's a lot of different answers to it. I think do stuff you care about. Obviously, I'm talking about specifically the sort of feature world. There's the whole world of doing commercials. There's the whole world of doing things to support the lifestyle, and that's all important. But if you're directing a feature, it's going to be 2 years of your life, and find something that you care about that much,
right?
And then there's a point where I think it's never been a better time to get stuff made, in a sense, because we all walk around with video cameras in our pockets that are all pretty good.
Oh yeah.
And to be able to just start creating stuff, it's a unique discipline because you can't do it by yourself, right? You need a cast, you need a crew, and that's exciting. But we've never been in a better time to wrangle friends together and just start making stuff.
Oh yeah.
Listen to actors. I think that sometimes directors, particularly a lot of directors come up now through music videos, through the sort of tech side of things.
Oh yeah.
And they either don't respect or are scared of actors.
Sure.
And I think it was one of the best pieces of advice I ever got early in my career, actually in a different career, was be smart enough to know what you don't know.
Oh, nice.
And don't be so insecure and afraid that you don't ask questions. And I think one of the things that happens in the film business is because we're also fundamentally insecure, because there's so few opportunities and so many people want to do it, we think that we have to act like we know everything.
Yeah.
And in fact, it's much more empowering and it leads to a much better work product. I don't care if it's Billy Crystal or a 20-year-old PA. Good ideas can come from anywhere. Yeah. And you'd be, as a director, incredibly narcissistic and be self-centered and short-sighted if you can't step away from yourself enough to recognize that.
Right. That's a fantastic answer. Great. So have I asked you how the experience has been with Heartland?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, great.
The answer was terrific. I'll reiterate it.
How's the experience been being interviewed by me? Just joking. Don't answer that, please.
I'll answer off mic.
Nice. And I will cry in my car. So that's great. So first of all, congratulations, or second of all, or again, reiterating, congratulations again on the film. And, like, it's going to be, it's going to have a theatrical run in February, you said?
Yes.
Nice, that's great. Yeah, congratulations. Where can people find you online and find the film online?
Yeah, so we're on all of your preferred social media channels.
Sure.
The film's Standing Up, Falling Down, and if you look us up on any of your, the Instagrams, your Facebooks, your Twitters, we're there.
Nice. And, also, does it have any other festivals lined up or anything?
Yeah, we're playing, I'm sort of on a world whistle stop tour at the moment, so
Nice.
heading to New Hampshire tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
Then I go down to Naples, Florida. Then I go to D.C. for Washington West.
Wow.
Doing a special screening in Cleveland, which I'm really excited about, as
Sweet.
it's my hometown.
Yep.
Then we'll be at the Gold Coast Film Festival in Long Island. Head over to Napa Valley. We got a bunch through the fall and then into the winter as well. So if you're living anywhere, Google Standing Up, Falling Down. We might be at a festival near you.
Perfect. Well, thank you for taking the time to chat with me, and again, congratulations, and I can't wait to see it.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Let's record here. So my name is Matt. I'm from ObsessiveViewer.com. We're a local blog, podcast, all that. So you guys are here for Samir, which is having had its world premiere already. Is that correct? Here at Heartland. No,
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah,
Okay,
tonight.
it's about to have. Okay.
Yeah.
So how nervous are you guys? And also introduce yourselves and tell us about the film.
Sure, yeah. My name is David Liu. I'm the producer of the film.
Hi, my name is Maria de Sanctis, and I'm one of the co-directors of the film.
I'm Michelle Lukes, and I play Mercedes.
Perfect. All right. And so your world premieres tonight. Tell us about the plot of the film as well.
Yeah, so the film is essentially a modern-day adaptation of The Count of Monte Cristo.
Oh, nice.
And instead of being set in 19th century France, we moved it to 21st century Los Angeles.
Wow.
And specifically in the post 9/11 era. So it'll span 15 years from the early 2000s to essentially 2015, 2016, and it takes place in both LA and Guantanamo Bay.
Oh, wow.
So for people who aren't familiar with the classic revenge narrative, it's basically about a LA resident who gets framed by his coworkers and gets sent to Gitmo for 15 years, where he essentially, comes back yearning for revenge and under a different identity.
Wow,
Yeah.
that sounds amazing. That's awesome, especially for just the context of having it be updated and everything for modern era. So your world premiere is when is the world premiere? Let's go.
So the world premiere is at 7:30 p.m. This first screening is at 7:30 p.m. today, and it's at the AMC Castleton in Indianapolis.
Nice.
And it'll also be tomorrow as well at 5:50 p.m.
Perfect.
So 2 screenings.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, congratulations on the film, first of all.
Thank you.
And can you guys talk about how it came about and the process of making it and kind of how you got here?
Sure. So it's a USC feature film, and it's funded by Warner Brothers, which is super exciting.
Oh, nice.
And basically, the way that the film works is they select 9 directors to come together and co-direct the movie together. So they're 9 students that are in the program. So fortunately, I was selected as one of the directors to be a part of it, which is really exciting. And we kind of each of us direct a little segment of the film, and then in entirety, we have to make sure it all flows, all the voices are one. So right before we shot, we all went out and we shot a little test film. So we shot our own section to kind of see what our styles were like and try to make it all so it was one in unison. So that was kind of the process there that was involved, which was really cool. For me, that was interesting because I normally do dramas with comedy and lighthearted coming-of-age films. So that was such an important part of the process because then I was like, okay, so this is what the other directors are doing. We have to make sure we all match. So I was part of it.
That's incredible. That sounds like such an interesting kind of way to create, essentially. That's fantastic. And how's your experience been with Heartland? I'm assuming that you guys just got in. Is that right?
We just got here. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay,
waving that at me. I don't know what to do with it.
So how was it acting in the film? And you played Mercedes.
I play Mercedes,
Okay.
who is the love interest of our title character.
Nice.
Yeah.
And what was the experience like with shooting it?
I love this movie. I loved working on this movie for so many reasons. Like I always tell people, it was the project that brought me back to life.
Nice.
It was so collaborative and like creatively free. It was just such a joy, and also working with 9 directors was very cool. It wasn't completely alien to me because I come from a TV background, so often we're always working with different directors. But it's amazing how everyone brings their own special something to set, and they're all very, very individual. But it just worked. It was so organic. I haven't actually seen the finished product, but as an actor in the process, it was seamless, and it was very inspiring. It was cool. So I loved it. Also, what I loved about these directors were they were all very actor friendly, which you get out there in the real world, it's actually quite rare.
Sure.
You know, there's a lot of directors that come up through production as camera operators and stuff, and they're great, but they're very focused on the aesthetic. Whereas I felt like with our directors, they were really also focused on the aesthetic, but so engaged with the narrative, and also really respectful of the actors' journey too, and that was really, really amazing to be a part of. So yeah,
that's awesome.
10 out of 10 from me.
Awesome. Well, that's great. And how did the project evolve? Like throughout, like the entire process. Like when, like my thought is that, like, okay, when you have like a single crew and single like director or pair of directors or what have you, like you have like a singular vision. But like with this type of project, like how did it come about and evolve as the process went on?
Yeah. So like Michelle and Maria were sort of talking about with the television background and sort of multiple directors, we sort of saw it and approached it as a microcosm of a television show.
Okay.
And so the unity aspect sort of comes from, the producers, cinematographer, production designer, various department heads, of which there's only one.
Right.
And so, the planning from the very early stages of the film, the script was streamlined and we made sure that it was sort of one product where we could give the directors maximum space to be creative and to work with, all of the talent. So the process was actually really fun and not as daunting as it may seem like, mainly because we just had such a good dynamic on set, like all of us. We shot for 25 days in and around Los Angeles, about 38, 39 locations.
Wow.
And, given a limited budget, I'm really proud. I think we're all really proud of what we came up with.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing it when I can. I'm super busy with all this, but yeah, that's amazing. So, did you guys film any of the like Gitmo scenes, or like how was that like in terms of like just finding a set and like location scouting and all that?
Locations, yeah. So it's funny because the driver on the way from the airport was asking us, so how was it filming at Guantanamo Bay? And we're like, well, we didn't. There's a little bit of movie magic involved. Right. We went to this prison called Mira Loma. It's a semi-active prison outside of LA, about an hour outside of LA, in the high desert.
Wow.
And we filmed there for 3 days. And it's just extensive scouting, sort of like researching what Gitmo looked like and looks like, since there's such a big time gap that we had to cover, and just really trying to be respectful towards history, towards the material, towards the character itself.
Wow.
So because I think even though the story is fictionalized, there were many instances where during our research, it came up that certain individuals were wrongfully framed, wrongfully imprisoned. So part of our goal was to give them a voice.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's just to give them a voice, not the like false imprisonment and everything. But but that's really amazing. And like you said, it gives a voice to stuff that is recent in the past, but it's something that people can kind of forget about with it, like with different, like the 24-hour news cycle in general, like everything. There's such a short-term memory loss for everything that it's great to have like something shine a spotlight on something like this. So your world premieres tonight, as we established. How nervous are you guys? Are you guys excited? How you feel going into the world premiere?
I think we're just mainly excited. We're all really happy and feel so grateful to be here. Tired. We'll see how we're feeling tonight. Hopefully our eyes are still open.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I haven't seen the movie in its entirety. This will be there's been a couple of screenings, but I haven't been able to come to any of them. So this will be the first time I see the movie. So I'm pretty excited and slightly nervous.
Sure.
You know what? Me too, actually. I've seen it on my laptop, but I haven't actually seen it on the big screen yet because I couldn't attend the first one. So this is going to be big.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's super exciting.
Wonderful. Yeah, I'm excited. I've seen the movie maybe 200 times through now.
Sure.
From the editing room to the sound suites, but every time.
Perfect.
You watch a movie that you all made together, and you see a scene, and you just remember what went into that scene.
Yeah.
That's how beautiful movie making is.
Oh, absolutely. And it's something
shared
that
memory of the whole crew.
Yeah. And that kind of collaborative aspect and the art of it all is something that I feel is celebrated pretty well here at Heartland and everything. I've been covering for 4 years now. So it's something that it sounds like it was a good fit to have you guys here.
We're very excited.
Yeah. So do you guys have any other stops on the festival circuit? Like, where do you go from here? Anything lined up?
So this is our first world premiere, obviously, and we've submitted as well to other festivals such as Palm Springs, Newport Beach. So we're just waiting to hear back.
Perfect.
Yeah, we're excited. Hopefully it's the first of many great experiences.
And where can people find you guys online, social media, like a website for the film,
Well, all the directors, I think, have their own websites. So there's 9 of us. You can look us all up. And that's kind of interesting to see because everyone's a little bit different and has their own voice. So you can research us more there. My name's Maria De Sanctis. I'm kidding. The movie has an Instagram, doesn't it? Yeah,
nice.
Instagram and a Facebook. It also has IMDb and IMDb Pro, so you can find David's and Miriam's contacts there, I'm sure, as well. And also you can contact USC because it is a USC feature film as well.
Nice.
So you'll be able to give you more information as well.
Perfect.
And social media, for example.
I mean, I love a bit of Instagram. Shelley Lukes.
So the Instagram handle for the movie is samir.movie.
Okay,
so SAMIR.MOVIE.
Sweet.
Yeah, so if you go on there, you can see some of our behind-the-scenes photos, sort of like all the crazy days and nights that went into making it.
Nice.
And we plan on posting more as the festival circuit continues.
Sweet.
So.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on the film and on the premiere. That is going to be huge, I'm sure. So,
thank you.
Thank you guys for chatting with me, and have a great rest of the festival and festival run, everything.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, and if you just want to grab that, I can get us kicked off here.
You guys waiting on me?
All right, so I'm here with 3 more people from Samir, a film that is showing here at Heartland Film Festival. And why don't you guys go down the line and introduce yourselves and tell us about your role in the production of the film?
So my name is Miriam Argandual, and I am a co-producer on the film.
Nice.
My name is Iman Nazemzadeh, and I play Samir.
Nice.
My name is Jeremy Glazer, and I play Daniel Hirschler.
Perfect. All right. So I interviewed the rest of your guys' crew that's here. So it's kind of a somewhat modern, but set post 9/11 retelling of the Count of Monte Cristo to an extent, and it's also a USC film, which I was very interested in just the process of it and everything. Can you guys speak to what the process was like for you guys in the terms of creating it and such a collaborative effort and everything?
Yes, it was a freak show, but a love child at the same time.
Nice.
It was very hectic. You had 9 different directors with very strong voices. You had a lot of talent that, you wanted to keep, wanted to make the show look as organized as it did in front of them, because didn't want them to see that all the, everything was falling apart behind the scenes all the time.
Sure.
So, it was a lot of trust building. It was a lot of getting to know everyone, getting to build relationships so we could, transform and just keep sculpting the story and making it be what it needed to be constantly. Nice. And, that was literally staying on set an hour longer because we had to rewrite a scene because one director had a different version than the next director did. And you had to know each director's vision to make, know that change was coming. You had to talk to the actors to be like, does this feel right if we change this like this way? And, right before they were going to go up and do it in a different scene. So it was a lot of communicating. It was a lot of reworking things. It was a lot of thinking on your toes. And, we made it happen, but it was definitely a challenge.
Nice. Well, congratulations on it.
Thank
also,
you.
just it sounds like a really interesting story and it sounds great. It's having its world premiere tonight, correct?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
That's super exciting. How do you guys feel about it, and how do you guys feel about Heartland? Did you guys just get in?
We just got in this morning, literally. So we're a little sleep deprived.
Sure.
But we're excited about it. I think it's the most exciting thing is, in LA we live in quite a bubble, and so when we put our heart and souls into making sure this film was diverse and it had, broke stereotypes and, didn't fall into the same tropes that Middle Eastern and stories about terrorism and whatnot often fall into. And so to do all of that, I think bringing it here to the Heartland Film Festival is kind of the test of whether we succeeded or not, and, making our viewers empathize with our characters, making them walk away and, think about a situation differently than they had before. So I'm really excited about tonight. I think it's going to be a true test to what we made.
Awesome. And what was the experience like just on the acting side of it? Like, how did you feel about, acting for several different directors? How was that experience?
It was such a wonderful opportunity that I don't think will ever happen again unless I'm on a TV show.
Sure.
And I get the opportunity to work with a director, but, you're working with a director on a TV show for 8 days if you're on the show for 8 days, because that's sort of how it shoots. But
right.
For something like this, you're working with one director one day, and then they bring in another. Actually, it was like every 3 days or every 4 days. I can't remember, but it was really short intervals.
Sure.
And it was amazing. Everyone has their own toolbox.
Nice.
And we're all sort of servicing the greater vision, and we try to make sure that no matter what we do and however we approach our work and craft, we always remain true to that. And it was a pleasure because I got to learn how other directors worked, and I'm like, how can I apply this to my work as an actor?
Oh, yeah.
It sort of trained me to be a better actor for working with directors in the future.
Nice.
Because you just get so many vast, every director was very strong, and they had a very clear voice, and they had a very specific personality, so they knew that their stamp and brand as that director was very clear for every single one.
Nice.
And they really stayed true to that. So that was fun. That was a lot of fun, working with directors like that. The most important thing for me before I got on set was to be as prepared as possible.
Right.
Because I knew, it's one thing where you're working with one director and they're throwing curveballs at you. But when you're working with 9 different directors and you're walking into a room, you're sort of like a pinball if you don't have your crap together, and you're being tossed around.
Oh, yeah.
And you can sort of lose sight on the trajectory of where the character's going.
Yeah.
But I coached for about a month I hired a coach. And we worked 2-3 times a week. Besides private coaching, I went to her classes, and we really started to develop a really strong foundation for the characters, so that when I walk on set, I was able to bring something that I felt very strongly about.
Very cool.
And still at the same time have a good time and stay flexible.
Nice. Have that adaptability to it.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's fantastic. How about you?
Yeah, it was a true testament to collaboration because, it's also a testament to the producers who really held this vast, large crew and cast together because, it all does trickle down. And I felt very safe and coming in each day not knowing really who you're working with and like Iman just said, it is important to come in with your work and your homework done and your strong choices and knowing your character and where he's going, where he's coming from, because you have to have your foundation in order to be malleable to the different points of view of each director. So it was exciting, and it was exciting to be open to different points of view from the directors, but also having your through line with trusting my own work, but also trusting them, no matter who it is, whether it's someone less experienced, more experienced, man, woman, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's just we're all there to service this really important story.
Absolutely, and that's something that I'm really looking forward to seeing in the film. Is just the story itself is just really. It's something that's important to our time and everything. Like the way our culture is and everything is like. I was talking to the other guys about it, like, it's recent in our past, but, like, if you kind of, like, it can, in the 24-hour news cycle and everything, like, things just slip off our radar and everything, and we don't really, like, have that conscious, like, awareness of things like false imprisonment and stuff like that, especially with, like, Gitmo and everything, and all kinds of just really, really terrible things that are going on. So it's great to have a film that kind of spotlights, that.
It touches a lot of different elements, such as false imprisonment, but also the racial profiling, all of that, and especially in the political climate that we're in now. History repeats itself in different ways, but it does repeat itself, and this film is so important to be put in front of those who don't necessarily get exposed to stories that have genuine people behind the camera that can speak true to these people and people going through this. So that was another part of being honored to be part of this film, to really hopefully open people's hearts and minds to people of all different backgrounds. And Miriam.
Absolutely.
I think not to get too political, but
sure.
I think, recently these conversations have come up about, George W. Bush again. And a lot of people try to scrape away the fact, his past of being a war criminal, of just everything that happened that was so horrible during that administration, and really all of the atrocities that were committed with his administration and everything that happened. And I think while our film is a fictional film and it's, a take on a classic novel, at this, I think it's so important to have art that remembers our history, that tells the story of the atrocities that happened. And I think to keep it alive and to not underplay what was happening at that time is really important. And just hearing that on the news and seeing this debate, it just made me proud to work on this film, because I was like, we did, little things that we paid attention to, like making Guantanamo Bay when it was first built. It was so inhumane that they had just kennels. They didn't have the facilities. They had to. They needed time to build prisons, so they had human kennels, and that's what they stuck them in. And so when, it was very important to us for, the film, when we first started out in the present, that they were in human kennels. And, a lot of directors were like, well, it's not as aesthetically appeasing as if we go and we, film in a prison. But I was like, we will do that, but we're going to do it in the same way they did it. They're going to start off in human kennels, and then we're going to take them to prisons. So all of those little details and getting the facts right was really important to us. And again, even though it is a fictional story, I think being accurate to those little aspects of what actually happened, I think is really important to do as filmmakers.
Absolutely. And I commend you guys for making the film and everything, because, like you said, with all this stuff with George W. Bush and Ellen and everything that's in the news now, and, people, there is a tendency to misremember or completely block out like things in the past, even with our current like cultural attachment to social media, where everything is like so instant and everything. It's like it's important to continue to hold people accountable for actions that are completely deplorable. So
exactly.
So I can't wait to see the film. I'm really excited, and I'm
excited for you to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. And why don't you go ahead and tell us where we can find you guys online, the film online, social media, all that?
So right now we just have an Instagram page which you guys can follow, and then the website will come to. We will post on that. The Instagram handle is Samir SIMIR.movie, and if you follow that, then you'll get all of our upcoming website updates and everything.
Perfect. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for chatting with me. Congratulations on the film.
Thank you.
And
for
best of luck. Yeah, best of luck on the festival circuit with your world premiere and everything. It sounds like it's a great film, and I can't wait to check it out myself.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yep.
Appreciate it, man.
Awesome. Whew. All right. So I'm here with April Wright, right? All right. I'm here with April Wright, director of Going Attractions, the definitive story of the Movie Palace, which is playing at Heartland Film Festival. And also, just I want to point out, just it's so fitting that they screened it at the Historic Art Craft Theater in Franklin, because that is such a beautiful place. So why don't you tell us about the documentary and about your experience with Heartland so far?
Yeah, so the documentary is about movie palaces. I always say in other countries they built palaces for royalty, but in the United States we built them to see movies, which shows you how important movies and that whole industry has been to our country. And the film covers the whole history of cinema, really, and how we've seen films and how that has evolved over time. But it specifically does focus on the movie palaces, not only the huge, people don't realize Radio City Music Hall was a movie theater, a 6,000 seat movie theater. So some of them are that big, 3,500 seats, 5,000 seats, but like the Art Craft are what we call neighborhood movie palaces that had the same grandeur, the same design, the same different themes that you see at a lot of the big theaters, but they're just in neighborhoods. So they're the same experience. And we were really honored and lucky and had a great time playing on Wednesday night at the Historic Art Craft in Franklin that was built in 1922 and saved from demolition and brought back to life. And it's really cool. It's really beautiful. That one started as vaudeville, so they were showing vaudeville and films, and they took me on a tour and showed me the dressing rooms underneath, and they still have an orchestra pit and all of those features that you would have had when you were doing live performance and films back in the day. So that was awesome.
Yeah, beautiful theater. And I have had a chance to see the documentary. It is, I really like it as just a movie fan and just a fan of the theater experience. It's like it made me want to just like embrace that venue, like the venues of just movie palaces, because it is kind of a rarity these days, almost to an extent. And it's just and the amount of like archival footage and photographs and everything that are in the film is just like I lived vicariously through the talking heads and everything.
Right. Well, and that's part of, I think, what I wanted people to have with the films. I went to theaters like this growing up, and even after, my first documentary was about drive-ins. It's Going Attractions, definitive story, the American drive-in movie, and my family went to drive-ins a lot, but we also went to these big old theaters. And as I got older in college and things like that, if I had a choice between a multiplex or going to an old theater, even if it was, I was in Chicago after college, even if it was a rundown theater, I would go there because it was just such a different experience to see a film in a place like that. That was really ornate and had the big red curtains and all the little details. I would choose those places, and I think there's a lot of younger people now that probably have never seen a film in a place like that. And to bring this awareness when we're in this era streaming and entertainment becoming somewhat disposable, where we're just watching and then it's all kind of a blur. Whereas when you go to a place like this to see a film, it creates a memory. It creates an experience and a memory, and you're seeing it with other people, and we don't want to lose that, because I think those things are culturally important to us as human beings and as communities, to have those types of experiences. So, making people aware that if they have movie palaces, whether they're showing films or showing concerts, go to them, go see something, and you'll create a great memory and have a great experience, and then you'll remember, this place is so cool, I want to go back.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's what happens.
Yeah, like my pipe dream for my life is to do a road trip that is just across the country, hitting all the different like independently run movie palaces, movie theaters and stuff, and just do that. That's my dream, and it's so, again, kind of living vicariously through the documentary is a great experience. You also got some very great people to do to kind of discuss it and everything. Leonard Moulton is in. I'm a huge fan of him, and I respect his work a lot. How was it to kind of put it together and get the different people on to talk about it?
Well, I always say that someone gave me the advice, and I followed it. When you're telling a documentary, to tell it from inside out. Don't be on the outside looking in and telling the story that you think it is. Get involved with the people that are closest to it, and they will tell you what the story is and who should be involved. And so I did follow that in this film. And once I knew I was going to make the film, I started doing research, and I got involved with places like the Art House Convergence, which is a association of art house theaters. So they gave me a lot of interesting insights of theaters that are historic or still showing films. I got involved with the Theater Historical Society, and they had a huge archive of photographs that they gave us access to. So that's where a lot of the photographs in the film came from. So it was really good to have their support. And people just will start telling you, Dave Strohmeyer. He doesn't call himself this, but a lot of people call him Mr. Cinerama, because he made a documentary about Cinerama. He's been restoring Cinerama. He's known for that. So of course he was the go-to guy for that. And then early on, I didn't know Radio City Music Hall was a movie theater. You think of the Christmas show and the Rockettes and all that. And so when we started talking to people, someone said, "Oh, well, you've got to talk to this woman who saved Radio City Music Hall." I'm like, well, why would I want to talk to her? Well, that was a movie theater. I didn't know that. So once you get into the community, they'll start to tell you people you should talk to. And she was, just a perfect representative from that aspect of people who are preservationists and save these places.
Oh, yeah.
And so you just try to find just diverse perspectives and points of view, and you kind of structurally map out the chapters or the topics and who can speak to each one, so that each person kind of shines in a certain area where they're an expert. And just kind of map it all out and figure out, do I have all the topics covered, and do I have different points of view? So there is a lot of, people think documentaries are left to chance kind of a lot of times, but there's a lot of writing and a lot of research and a lot of structuring to get a documentary to be what it should be, I think.
Absolutely, and what I really enjoyed about the documentary is the way that, like you said, it's kind of chronological. It goes from it's an expansive history of it, so it's very thorough with all of the different details and stuff, dating back to just the early days of motion pictures.
The invention of motion pictures, in the late 1800s. Yeah, we go through everything.
It's amazing, and it's so unique, because the amount of archival footage and photographs and everything you have in it is it tapped into a nostalgia that I don't, for something that I don't have a nostalgia for, because
didn't know it existed, right?
Exactly.
Right.
It's really, as someone who loves the movie theater experience in general, it's just that it really spoke to me. And
it's kind of to understand things going on now, you do have to understand, because it's building blocks. Once you understand this and understand then this happened, and it's impacted by so many different things, not only cultural changes, but financial things and technology things, and putting all those, it's building blocks of, and you have to understand this before you can really understand why that's important. And when you get to the end, I just was mentioning the woman who saved Radio City Music Hall. She told me that's one thing that she loves about the film is that now people, when they see it, will understand why they get upset, why they fight for these places. Because if you don't really understand why they were important or architecturally why they're significant, historically, what piece they play in the history of our country and our evolution of this, thing that we like, going to the movies. Once you understand all that, then you can understand why people want to save them, why they get upset.
Absolutely.
And so it all, you build it all together to get to the end to really understand it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I do want to ask you this question. So where's your favorite place to see a movie? That may be a loaded question, but like your favorite place to see a movie?
Wow, that is a tough question. I live in Los Angeles now, and there's a lot of great places. I go to, one of the theaters we shot in is Quentin Tarantino's New Beverly Theater, and I go there pretty often just because of the cool programming and unique films that you can't see and that you certainly can't see on film.
Right.
And they've always, even before he owned it, they played great films and great double features, and I went there a lot. So I like going to see old movies. I go to the Egyptian a lot and the Arrow Theater. I go to the Chinese. I go to, I've seen movies recently a lot at the United Artists that we cover in the film, which also is doing concerts and shows and other things, but they do a lot of special screenings. It's always cool to go see a movie on the screen there. I go to the ArcLights. I go to the Alamo. Nice. So I go everywhere. But if there's opportunities to see films, especially if they're older films, and they were meant to be seen on those big screens. Absolutely. And even if you've seen them, at home on TV or whatever, a bunch of times, seeing them with the audience on that big screen the way they were intended is a completely different experience. And like we said, it creates that memory too.
Oh yeah.
Like when I saw Lawrence of Arabia for the first time, I went and saw that at a big theater. Because you should see it that way the first time,
Oh yeah. One of my favorite theater going experiences this year alone, because I really like how there are these anniversary screenings and stuff like the chains are doing. Like last year I saw Schindler's List on the big screen. That was amazing. And just a few weeks ago I saw The Shining.
Yes.
The new 4K restoration of it and everything.
Yeah.
But my favorite experience in the movies this year, and I see movies all the time, is at the Historic Artcraft Theater. I got to see Seven Samurai on 35 millimeter prints, and it was just mind blowing to me because I adore that movie because I was a snobby 15-year-old film nerd who saw it because it was a Japanese movie from 1954 with samurai. Okay, this is my favorite movie ever. And then I watched it more and more. It's these are the reasons why this is my favorite movie ever, because it's this. And
and so many films based on that.
Exactly. Yeah. And just the opportunity to see that on the big screen, especially in 35 millimeter.
Yeah, and seeing things on film has become so rare.
Oh, absolutely.
And the New Beverly only plays on film. And some of these art house theaters have converted to digital, but also have kept their 35. We'll see where that goes. I've been at some conferences where the people from Kodak have talked about possibly branding theaters. Like here, see prints on Kodak film or whatever, and trying to partner so that people can find those places that are still playing film. And records. I just read recently they sold more vinyl this year than digital copies of songs or whatever. So media maybe will change. Yeah, because people love a nice digital print. They're very clear and pristine, and as opposed to film where they were in the cases and they were going from theater to theater, so they would get worn with each play, and that. So there's something tangible about the film that you can see in the print, the miles that it has on it. And there's benefits cost-wise to digital that you can get it around faster and easier. Right. But it's a different experience seeing a film digital and on 35. And in most cases, any new cinema you're going to is not going to have a 35 projector. You're going to see those films in historic theaters.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, and it's a memory. It's an experience. When you have the opportunity to do that, take those opportunities.
Oh, yeah. Like, again, the art craft, like, that's pretty much the only, like, theater of its kind in the area here in Indianapolis that I'm aware of, at least. But, like, a few years ago, they did like, each year they do kind of a marathon kind of thing, like, 2-day thing. Like, this year, I'm so upset that I missed it, but it was like an Alfred Hitchcock thing.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah, I think they had Vertigo, The Birds.
Yes.
I think Psycho too, but like they had like 6 films.
I did that. I was working in Palo Alto, California, and there's a historic theater there that had been restored, and I went to see. It was 2 Hitchcock movies. It was Vertigo, was definitely, and I think North by Northwest. And I hadn't seen them before. I'd been holding off.
Sure.
And this was, years ago.
Yeah.
But seeing both of them in a historic theater as a double feature on film, I knew I liked Hitchcock, but because I'd seen Psycho and a few of the other films. But man, after that, I was hooked.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And like a few years ago, they did, Artcraft did they called it the Sci-Fright Frenzy, which was 4 or 5, I think. I don't know how many, but like classic like science fiction films. So like I saw the original Godzilla, the original. Godzilla and why can't I think of the name?
Original Thing or something like that. A lot of times they do those.
Oh, that'd be good. But wow, I'm completely blanking on it. But anyway, it was incredible. It was incredible. But to kind of talk about like the film aspect of it, like I was like, it was a 2-day thing, and like on the first or second day, obviously, I was sitting kind of like toward the back of it because it was busy, and like after like 3 films, like it was so interesting because like I could smell the projector because it was like right behind me, and it's just like that's a memory that I'll have forever. It's just like being able to see that. Yeah.
The smell of a projection room. Is,
yeah, it can be intense. But so getting back to the documentary and everything. So, who would you say is like what filmmaker would you say like influenced you the most in your career as a filmmaker?
Now that's a good question for documentary world.
Yeah.
I mean, I like genre films a lot too, so nice. I do like Hitchcock. I do like Brian De Palma. Nice. So those are some of my favorite filmmakers. But in documentary, I really like Errol Morris and a lot of his films. I thought The Fog of War was just brilliant. That's one I think about all the time. I love The Kid Stays in the Picture. I've seen that one a million times. So yeah, I do like documentaries that have a historic aspect. But there's a lot of great modern ones. I loved 20 Feet from Stardom.
Oh, nice.
Although that had a historic element too about how that music was made.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I could list documentaries all day. There's so many. I watch a lot of documentaries.
Yeah.
Hitsville, Motown, I just was watching on Showtime the other day.
Oh, nice.
It was great.
Cool.
There's just so many good ones.
Nice.
But am I influenced style-wise? I don't know. I tend to like faster pace, I think, rather than something that's very, very slow. And I get a lot of people that are complimentary about my documentaries that they're not slow, that they're not like some slow, boring documentary. A lot of people will say that I'm kind of faster in how I give the information, which some people are like, slow down, there's too much information. But a lot of people are like, when I watched it the second time, there were a million more things I didn't even catch. And I love that about it, that there's layers of details and information that you can enjoy it the first time, and then the second time you'll catch something a little more, and the third time you'll catch something a little more. And in this film in particular, like for example, I will show the same theater as multiple aspects over time. And so you'll see the same theater maybe 3 times throughout the film, that somebody who doesn't know the topic that well might not notice that, but people who are really into the topic will know that and will appreciate that. So there's definitely layers to this.
Right.
I showed it at two art house theaters, two historic theaters in the Buffalo, New York area about a month ago, and they have sort of a local Buffalo theater historian who everyone kept telling me, well, when you go there, you got to talk to this guy, you got to see this guy. And he came to the first screening and he saw the film and he really liked it. And then a week later, we screened at a different historic theater and he came to that one too.
Oh, nice.
And so I asked him afterward, I said, what did you think seeing it the second time? And he just looked at me really happy and he said, I loved it even more the second time. And I was
That's
like,
awesome.
As a filmmaker, that's what you want to hear.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially somebody who that's their thing and they're an expert and that they're seeing it and learning and enjoying it even more the second time. That made me really happy.
That's great. And it is a very great love letter to just the experience of
Yes.
movie palaces and the history of it. And it was right in my wheelhouse.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you previously directed Going Attractions, the definitive story of the drive-in movie?
American Drive-In movie, yeah.
There you go.
And I've also recently directed one on stunt women that is not out yet.
Nice.
But it's another aspect of cinema history. And that one was amazing, too. For example, I did not know, back in the era of silent films, in the teens, women were writing, directing, producing, and performing stunts, jumping from motorcycles onto trains or off of bridges onto trains or driving motorcycles into water, like all these things that you're like, that's so crazy. And now today, 100 years later, we're talking about, can women do some of these things? And it's like, watch your film history.
Exactly. Oh, that's amazing.
So that one I'm excited, that should be coming out sometime next year. So I've already worked on that.
Is that going to be another Going Attractions, a definitive, or is it different title?
It's different because I got hired to direct that one, so it's not part of this series. But although it is similar because it's a little known aspect of cinema that goes through the whole history of cinema through the view of stunts, and especially women doing stunts, and they're amazing. So that'll be coming out soon.
Sweet, that sounds incredible. So social media, website, do you have for this film? And
it's
everything?
just the website is www.goingattractions.com, and we're on Instagram and Twitter and all that, mostly under Going Attractions. So you can find it everywhere. Yeah,
great, awesome,
and we have distribution, so we're coming out. We have our world theatrical premiere next week on October 24th at the Laemmle Theaters in Los Angeles. It's playing for a week in a bunch of their locations. And then we have our Chicago premiere November 12th at the historic Music Box, which is celebrating their 90th anniversary.
Wow.
And so we're part of that celebration. And then it's just being booked all over the country. Into a lot of historic theaters, but also multiplexes and everywhere.
Nice.
We're being booked everywhere.
Wow! Well,
so
congratulations.
People
That's incredible.
Should be able to find it if they pay attention. We'll be booked through the end of the year and also first quarter of next year for sure in theaters. We're doing a very big theatrical run, and then it'll be streaming and everywhere else sometime early next year too.
Great. Well, that's fantastic. And take it from me, listening, see this in a theater. I mean, that's
it adds another dimension, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because when you see what they're talking about, the balconies or whatever it is, you can look and be like, oh, there, I get what they're talking about. There it is.
Oh, yeah.
Talking about the organ grills that covered, they had the big organs in all these theaters, and the pipes were built into the walls. So sometimes you're like, oh, that's just cool architecture. Once you see the film, you're like, no, that's where they're covering the organ pipes.
Yep.
Because they're part of the wall of the theater. It's incredible. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me, and congratulations on the film, and I can't wait to see the stunt woman one that you're doing, and I really want to check out the drive-in movie one.
It's on Amazon Prime right now, but you can also buy DVD everywhere, every retailer off our website too. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, check that out at goingattractions.com, and thank you so much for chatting with me, and hope you have a great
it was
rest
fun.
of the
It was very fun. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, that will do it for this episode of The Obsessive Viewer. Once again, thank you guys so much for listening to us and for checking out the podcast. If this is your first time, we do have a lot of different stuff out there. We have reviews posted on obsessiveviewer.com, mostly me and one of our contributors, Ben, who's been on the podcast before and is going to hopefully be on the podcast sometime next week to talk about Heartland as well. He's been doing great work posting reviews on the website at obsessiveviewer.com. Also follow me on social media at Obsessive Viewer, kind of across the board. And, let's see, what else? Also, again, follow all the filmmakers and everything and Heartland as well. It's a really great festival and I'm really excited to, be able to cover it as much as I have. Yeah, and that's the other thing. Check out our other podcasts. Tiny and I have a Dark Tower Stephen King podcast called Tower Junkies. That's found at towerjunkiespod.com. And finally, I have a solo podcast called Anthology, which can be found at anthologypod.com, which is a solo one-man podcast reviewing The Twilight Zone as a first-time viewer, as well as bonus episodes covering modern anthology science fiction shows such as Black Mirror and some other shows. So, all right. So I'm going to get this episode posted. Thank you guys once again for listening, and hope you guys seek out these films and these filmmakers as well, because they are really talented. Once again, this has been one of the best years that Heartland has had in terms of just content and just the amount of really incredible films at the festival this year. So until next time, we're going to have probably a review of a film with me and Ben, and there's another red carpet, so I'll probably have interviews from that as well. And then finally, after that, we're going to follow it up with our final episode of the Heartland coverage, which is going to be me talking about the films I saw, as well as the special presentations and everything. Also, final thing, I have been doing vlogs on Patreon, so if you're a Patreon supporter, if you pledge $1, you get access to an RSS feed with content, just audio content recorded specifically for Patreon supporters. And if you pledge $5 or more, you get access to those video logs that I've been doing throughout Heartland when I can, and also, video reviews of movies that we see in the theaters immediately after seeing them. And also, final thing, shout out to Matt Andreyko, supporter on Patreon, friend of the show, and just all around great guy. He actually sent me a gift in the mail that is a selfie stick / tripod, so that I can make these videos for Patreon without it being really found footage level of shaky cam work. So very thankful for that from Matt and Draco. So thank you so much. And that's it. That'll do it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you next time. And now, in lieu of a special clip from the Patreon exclusive RSS feed, I'm actually going to play an audio clip from one of my vlogs that I am recording throughout Heartland Film Festival, which can be found at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. If you pledge $5 or more, you get access to the full vlogs and videos of immediate reactions to movies that we've watched in the theater. So check that out at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. Thank you and enjoy. It juggles a lot of stuff, and I feel like, unfortunately, one of the shortcomings in doing that is that we didn't get enough information about Lennon Lacey as a subject for the film. There are some kind of, I wouldn't call them revelations, because they're not. There are some interesting tidbits about him as a person in his personal life that aren't made known to us until well into the documentary, and it kind of raises some questions about, like, the way that it's presented raises some questions about how, like what could have led to his death. Like, they don't, to their credit, they don't really go into, they don't try to solve it or anything. It's not necessarily a true crime documentary, but they do leave not hints, but they paint some people of the community in a certain light to make us think that maybe they had something on it or something to do with it.
The Obsessive Viewer podcast is edited and produced by Matt Hurt and presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. For a full archive of our episodes, go to obsessiveviewer.com/OV archive. You can also like our Facebook page and join the OV Facebook group at facebook.com/theobsessiveviewer. And follow us on Twitter at obsessiveviewer and at obsessivetiny. And follow our recurring co-hosts at I am Mike White, that's me, at R.A. Feckus, and at burger_lurker. If you enjoy the show, please take a couple minutes to leave us a rating and a quick review on Apple Podcasts. This is the easiest way to support what we do, and all it costs is a little bit of your time. If you'd like to donate to the podcast, you can make a PayPal donation at obsessiveviewer.com/donate. Or support us on Patreon for recurring donations and access to commentary tracks and B-roll audio recorded exclusively for patrons at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. Every donation goes toward paying the fees to keep the podcast running and is greatly appreciated. For official Obsessive Viewer merch, including shirts, mugs, phone cases, and more, visit our TeePublic store. You can find a link to the store in the show notes of this episode and at obsessiveviewer.com/donate. Or you can simply search for Obsessive Viewer at teepublic.com, T-E-E, public.com. For information about our annual live event showcasing short horror films from local filmmakers, check out shocktoberInIrvington.com. And for an archive of all our events, as well as news about potential future events, head over to obsessiveviewer.com/live. For more podcast content, you can find Anthology, Matt's solo podcast covering The Twilight Zone and other classic and contemporary science fiction anthology TV shows at anthologypod.com and on Twitter at OVAnthologyPod. You can also find Tower Junkies, a podcast where Matt and Tiny share their love of all things Stephen King and his magnum opus, The Dark Tower series, at towerjunkiespod.com and at towerjunkiespod on Twitter. And finally, check out The Secular Perspective, Tiny's side project podcast, which tackles current events and life's big questions from the perspective of secular hosts Chad and Amanda at thesecularperspective.com. The theme music for The Obsessive Viewer comes courtesy of the band Loudlike from their EP Mistakes We Must Make. Additional bumper music is provided courtesy of As Good As It Gets, which can be found at facebook.com/asgoodasitgetsband. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Kitty!